And there is a Wi-Fi. The one that I'm using is, what is it, UCC?
Yeah, UCC guest one.
No.
UCC one is the network.
One network?
I think so. Anyway, whatever. It's UCC something.
Yeah, I got the strongest signal onto the 5G there.
UCC two is what I'm
Two.
using. And then the password is UCC guest one.
All lowercase.
Yeah. All right, so we're about to open. Anybody wants to get their coffee, whatever, that's the time. No, there's no more coffee. No more coffee. No,
Peter?
Good morning, Michael Hitzak, National Commander. I want to welcome everybody to the 78th Convention of the Ukrainian American Veterans. There still might be some late registrations. I know there's still some reports being printed out, but we're going to continue. First thing I'd like to ask is our chaplain, Lieutenant Ivan Koschak, couldn't be here. He's excused. He had to take care of his father because his mother passed away recently. So I'll ask our former Vice Commander, Post 101 Commander, Matt Rabluski to do the opening prayer.
Matt, can you come up?
Please uncover.
Come up.
Almighty God, we pray to you to continue your blessing upon us and to guide us during our deliberation in this meeting. Guide us in all our days so that we may be able to discharge our duties honestly and well. Fulfill now, O Lord, the desires and petitions of the Ukrainian American veterans. Grant them the knowledge of your wisdom and truth, for unto you we commend our lives and all our hopes. Continue to bless our country, United States of America, and Ukraine, our ancestral land, so that peace and freedom shall always prevail. Grant to all nations, O Lord, their desire for peace, and give their leaders the wisdom to let all mankind live in harmony. We pray for those who serve and guard the public welfare, so that they may keep a light of the fires of liberty, strive earnestly for the spirit of democracy, and preserve freedom with loyalty and justice. Especially do we ask your blessing and comfort for those veterans who are ill. O God of mercy, we lovingly remember our departed comrades, whom you have received and who abide with you. May their splendid example guide us now and forever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Matt. Cover. Please face the flag. Present arms.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, arms. Please be seated. First thing we'll have is all right, so we're gonna have our national adjutant, Mark Dotson, speak through the roll call.
No, I have it. I have it. Okay. Yeah, that's the one that you recommended. First we do the national. I have them right here. Roll call. Michael P. Hitzak.
Here.
Roman McCook.
Here.
Mark Tetzkowski here. Peter Bensah.
Present.
Bogdan Hitmansky.
Here.
Stephen Kostetsky.
Excused.
Okay. Dr. Ivan Kishak, Reverend Ivan Kishak, excused.
Excused.
Roman Stepanuk.
Here.
Nicholas Skirka.
Here.
Ed Zeknik.
Present.
Bogdan Dudich.
Present.
Leonid Kondrachuk.
Present.
Ihor Rudkov.
Present.
Joe Nasevich.
Present.
Oksana Kozak.
Here. Working.
And then state commanders. We got Ihor Rudkov. Michael J. Dobriansky.
Present. Post commanders.
Yeah, now we're going, yes. Well, I'm going down the list. I don't have the post commanders listed separately.
All right, post 17 is Jim Pedarco.
Jim Pedarco.
He's here, but he's not president.
I've got the list right here.
Okay, let me have it, please.
I need seven buildings, please.
Okay. Ed Zedek's here, Michael Itzhak's here, Michael P. Volk,
Here, present.
Jim Fedorko here, William Shosda,
Here.
Markian Slavik,
Yo.
Roman Rakovsky. Gregory Posella,
However, there is somebody from the Coastal's Post here. You're, yeah, no, I know. I just wanted.
Yaromir Orishkevich, Roman Kuschuk, Anna Kravchuk, Stephen Kostecki is here, Peter Bensak is here, Carl Harvey.
Excuse me.
Stecky's not here.
Yeah, Ihor Hrun,
Excuse.
Bogdan Zelekivsky,
That's post 42, and there is a representative, Terry Dew. That's who's here for post 42.
Michael Dobriansky,
Present.
Matthew Verbelski,
Present.
and Nicholas Skirka, present.
Okay, so now the registration report.
Right, just, we have it. Okay, we have Ed Zedek, Mikhailo Ritsak, Ruchko, Hetmansky, Kondrachuk, Pensak, Turich, Skirka, Makuk, Nasevich, Tatskivsky, Stefanuk, Kostetsky. Okay, Oksana Kozak. Oksana Kozak is here. Nestor Nenka.
Here.
Zenko Halkovich.
Here.
Markian Slavik.
Here.
Al Kravchuk.
Here.
Orishkevich. Yeah. Volodymyr Stepanyak.
Here.
Darian Jachok.
Here.
James Glass. James Glass. John Klim.
Here.
George Coach.
He is excused.
Okay. Michael Volk.
Here.
Walter Nalevaiko.
Here.
Ihor Dragonchuk.
Here.
Verbleski Matthew.
Here.
Roman Maximovich.
Here.
And Bogdan Chap. Bogdan Chap?
Absent. Miller's here.
He had an emergency.
That's right. Okay, and then we have Shosda. Du is here. Du?
Yeah.
Nagel?
Here.
Kawa?
Here.
And Kizak.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How's he at?
Oh, somebody else.
All right, so. Judge Advocate Bogdan Hitmansky.
We have a quorum based on the fact that we have more than 50% of the National Executive Board on hand.
And the posts.
Well, that's posters, let's see. Well, close out of how many people, what we have posted, I think, what, 20? Yeah, we have more than that.
Yeah, we have 17, because we have. All right, so we do have a quorum.
We have a quorum.
Do we have the minutes from the last convention, 77th convention?
No, we do not.
All right, so let's get into the financial reports. Finance Officer Peter Benstock. Wait a minute, I didn't do an opening remark.
That's right.
That would help, right, Peter? All right, sorry about that. I'm reading my agenda, but for some reason I missed it. Like I started, I am welcoming everybody to the 78th convention. The fact that we have 78th convention is quite impressive, considering that when you look at General Kondratyuk's history from the Ukrainian American Veterans, this organization was started by World War II veterans that were getting together after serving overseas. But what's important for us to remember is that everybody counts. So the posts are more important because the posts are the ones that are active within our Ukrainian American and general community. And it reminds me, in terms of a collective, why it's important to look at every individual and why it's a lot more important to know from one, what is happening in general. In other words, to have situational awareness. And it reminds me when I was a captain in October 1990, I was in Hohenfels, which is a maneuver center, combat maneuver training center in Hohenfels, Germany, with the 3rd Armored Division. We were supplementing it was part of a program called Keep Up, Key Personnel Upgrade Program. And basically what it did was it was augmenting the Iron Brigade staff from the 3rd Armored Division because the Corps Commander, General Crosby Saint wanted to simulate what would happen during an actual mobilization for war. In other words, that we would augment the staff and we would fight, and it would be Hohenfels is a maneuver center, so it's a force-on-force exercise, not using live ammunition, but using miles, the mobile integrated laser engagement system. So everybody was wearing harnesses, vehicles had harnesses, weapons had the lasers on them. And at that time, there wasn't a dedicated opposing force. It was actually another brigade from the 3rd Armored Division, and they had just been opposed by the brigade that I was assigned to, the Iron Brigade. So they had every reason to want to be pretty aggressive. So the battle started, and I was an assistant S2 assigned to with another captain to the major who was the S2, which is intelligence. And of course, we start getting spot reports. And the commander really wants to know, because there's 2 possible axes of advance, where's the main effort going to be from the enemy commander? Okay, that's, a lot of the spot reports come in a lot, and we have intel analysts that post them. And then we try to analyze what we're seeing, like what are the signature items? If you see 3 tanks, 4 tanks is a platoon, but if you see more than that, it's probably a company, et cetera, et cetera. So you have armored personnel carriers. Anyway, we're getting a lot of information. It's almost information overload, and all of a sudden it stops. And I forgot if it was an hour or an hour and a half later, maybe a little bit later than that. Next thing you know, the observer controllers come in, and they have these laser pistols, and we call them God guns. And the reason is when they aim it at you and pull the trigger, you're dead. They come in and they wipe out the whole tactical operations center for the Iron Brigade. That included me. And what they did was, and we couldn't figure out why we're not getting any more spot reports. So we were guessing, in terms of what we advised the commander, we were guessing where the main effort was. And obviously we were wrong, because all the way in the rear area, the tactical operations center, the top was overrun. The way they played the exercise, we actually had to go through Graves registration. So there was another captain, he was the same year group as me, 81. And he was like the S3, the assistant S3 for the brigade. And we're sitting in Graves registration, and I'm talking to him going, I can't understand it. We were getting a whole bunch of spot reports. We had a pretty good idea of what we thought the main effort was going to be. And then all of a sudden we got killed. Anyway, all of a sudden I look over, and about, 20 meters away, there's a group of these younger guys sitting there. And I was like, hey, do you know who those guys are? He goes, no. I walk over to them. I'm like, hey, are you guys the scouts from the brigade or from the battalion that was, had the forward element? Yes, sir, we are. What happened to your spot reports? Sir, we're in Graves registration, just like you. We're dead. So anyway, what was important is, so later on, one of the observer controllers came over to me and he said, you were doing a good job. You were getting, pretty good spot reports. You were really, doing the intelligence preparation of battlefield. Part of that is we have something called NAIs and TAIs. NAI is a named area of interest. TAI is a targeted area of interest. So any place that we thought the enemy, that's going to be a crucial point that could tell us what the possible course of action the enemy commander is going to do, we had them designated. An NAI is just a place where we want to see what the activity is. A TAI is already a pre-planned target, so that if we do report that there's activity there, the commander has the option of calling in for fire and denying that enemy course of action. Obviously, we didn't do it right, but the fact that the observer controller told me, he goes, no, what happened was you got these spot reports. And if you had gotten one or two more, you would have known that the main effort was going to be on this axis of advance, whatever it was. But that just shows you that every individual counts. So a whole brigade got defeated because a couple of individuals got taken out of their listening post outposts, their LPOPs. So our organization is the same way. We need to stay in touch with all of our posts. Our posts have the individuals that take the initiative to conduct projects, conduct community events. And if you see in the reports, we have color guards, we have honor guards for funerals, we have other activities. For example, we greeted the new ambassador to the permanent nation, the Ukrainian ambassador to the permanent mission to the United Nations, Andriy Melnik. There are other things that we got a chance to do. We had First Sergeant Navradsky's funeral at Arlington National Cemetery, a retired Marine who had volunteered to fight in Ukraine, who was killed in action in October of 2024. And then we had other activities. Some of them were with like Post 26, some of them were Post 17, some of them were with the Post, 42 and other posts. But what's important in our organization is that we don't forget that the posts are the ones that are active. The posts are the ones that people see us out and about. So it's the individuals that matter. Here at the convention, we're more of a coordinating headquarters, if any, well, not even a headquarters, but we're more of a coordinating leadership element to coordinate among the posts. Let the posts figure out what the other posts are doing, and then we coordinate and we see it. Maybe there's other, for example, if we know that something's happening down in Florida and you happen to be on vacation there, maybe you can show up to one of their events, even though you're from another post. So the individual in the posts, and if you look at our Constitution and bylaws, that is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be supporting community events as well as supporting each other and other veterans. So let's keep that in mind during this convention. I want to say that it's nice to have all the seats filled. I think there still are a couple of people that might be registering late. So if we have to, we'll get another table or two, whatever. But I wish everybody here a fruitful and eventful convention. The more people you get to know, it wasn't that long ago that Post 26 showed up to Quantico when we had the convention there at Marine Base Quantico in Virginia. And the next thing you know, I can't tell you how many events that they've been involved with and how many events they've attended, including even the White House, being in front of the White House during Ukrainian Independence Day, when we had a challenge with some other groups that were trying to make more noise than we made, but they lost, of course. So anyway, I wish everybody a great convention. Thank you for being here. We'll take a break every 45 minutes or so that you're not sitting here too long, and good luck.
Quick announcement. During our first break, please go up to the registration desk and see Olena Halkovich. She's taking reservations, your lunch menu, whatever you want to order. So during your break, please do it because they're waiting for us. They can prepare our lunches.
$15 cash.
$15 cash.
74 cents.
All right. Again, now, follow my own agenda. Peter Rizzotti, our finance officer. Thank you, Peter.
Morning, gentlemen,
Good morning.
brothers and sisters in arms. Financial report at the end of the third quarter. At the end of the third quarter, our checking account has $10,908.93.
We have a copy of that?
That's $10,908.93. Our savings account has $5,771.82. We have 3 T-bills, one for 5 months, and 2, well, actually, we have 3 5-month certificates. Our certificates, all 3 total $20,307.81. So we have a little over $35,000 in the organization as a national. Now, at this time, I'd like to report there are several posts that still haven't paid their dues for 2025. Post 6, post 19, post 23, post 25, post 30, and post 42. I need to remind everybody, all posts, that according to our Constitution and bylaws, your dues are due by the April 15th deadline. This is October, and we still don't have everyone's 2025 dues. I know that some of you usually wait to pay at the convention, but that doesn't do much for my accounting process. As far as MALs, we have approximately 52 MALs, according to the Vice Commander's report. Of those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 have paid for 2025. Only 5 out of 52 have paid. I reviewed, some of them paid by sending in a check, some paid by paying PayPal. I brought all 5 years of PayPal accounts with me. So if anybody has any questions, I will gladly answer them. The taxes for 2024 have been filed. They are scheduled to be complete, filing with the IRS by the end of this month. Unfortunately, I could not have the figures in of what we paid, but I did bring what was submitted to our accountant, and I'm just waiting for the finalization. There has been a holdup because one post did not submit the post that is part of the group filing. And there are 8 posts that are part of the group filing. One post did not submit his figures until the end of June. So by the time I rolled all that up and got it to the accountant, we could not make the deadline. We did apply for an extension. That's why we will hopefully have it all complete by the end of this month. The 2022 and 23 taxes have been filed, and I brought the paperwork with me. Question.
Would you please, announce the names of the posts that are part of the group file?
The posts that are part of the group filing, by all means. Posts that are part of the group filing. Post 1. Post 6, post 19, 27, 30, 31, 32, 33, 40, 42, 101, and 301. Since no dues have been received over the last 4 years, post 6, 27, and 30 have been dropped. Would you like for me to repeat that?
Yes, sir.
Post 1, post 6, post 19, 27, 30, 31, 32, 33, 40, 42, 101, and 301 are part of the group filing.
Thank you.
Post 6, 27, and 30 have been dropped due to no funds received for 4 years.
So what's the group again? 1, 6,
1, 6, 19, 27, 30, 31, 32, 33, 40, 42, 101, 301. Post 6, 27, and 30 have been dropped, no dues received for 4 years. So they are, as far as the IRS is concerned, they are delinquent. Null and void, I cannot file for them. I do not include them in my reports.
27 doesn't exist anymore.
I know, neither does 30. But I'm just telling you, the ones that haven't paid dues in 4 years.
which one was 30?
Sir,
Which one was 30?
would that come true? Anna, come true?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Question in the back.
You said that we're group filing, you didn't mention post 17.
017 is on their own, they filed their own taxes. When this was first established, for those of you who are attending for the first time, and I think I mention this every year at the convention. When Jerry Kindrachuk was the finance officer, in 2018, he was having difficulties filing taxes because some posts were using the national tax ID number. And that threw the accounting off. So Jerry, according to the board, at the board convention, indicated that he wanted to have a group filing. And that he wanted all posts to get their own tax ID number. Most posts went out and got their own tax ID number. When they got their own tax ID number, Jerry says, now send me your tax IDs, numbers, and I will make you part of the group filing. At the time, we had 21 posts. Of the 21 posts, only 11 posts responded to Jerry's request. So Jerry only made those 11 posts part of the group filing. The other 10 remained on their own.
Can I just express one issue with that? We just got our tax EIN this year, it was applied for in April, we received the number. In October, I got a call from the IRS saying, you need to provide your own copy of incorporation for your post, and you need to provide a copy of the Constitution and bylaws, which we shouldn't have to do as a post. So why are they telling me that? And how do I correct that? Because otherwise,
I don't know what you put on your application, so I can't.
I have my application here for review. If you want to go through it with me, I can show you what was submitted and how we can resolve that, because I don't think we have to get incorporated. Good. Fantastic.
Question.
So I just asked Danko, our treasurer, and he hasn't been filing anything. But I remember something to this conversation where we submitted our paperwork to the treasurer at that time. And he said he didn't receive it, so we submitted it again, he said he didn't receive it. When we submitted it again, he said he didn't receive it. So how do we follow up on it?
I would suggest that whoever your treasurer is at post 17, contact the IRS and find out how you can resolve your problem. What's it gonna take to resolve? Because if you haven't filed since 2018, when Jerry requested it, and you were under the assumption you sent it in, Jerry did not make you part of the group filing, because you're not listed as part of the group. So that means you should have been filing your own up to this point in time. If you don't file 3 years in a row, you are now considered delinquent and they drop you. So that means you're gonna have to resolve, they're probably going to want some back history. And that's a discussion that the treasurer should have with the IRS.
You said that they're dropped by IRS or dropped by whom?
By the IRS, you're gonna be, that tax ID number is considered delinquent and locked up.
I don't think we ever did, frankly, did we ever have an IRS number? But we've never had an IRS.
So where do you put your post 17 money? Are you using the national tax ID number? I hope not. Because then that throws all my figures off.
He's asking you that question.
Well, the only thing I can say here is that, some of the stuff I'm hearing for the first time, and I've been in the post some time, what we can do, in this case myself, I can find out, because I remember money being turned over, which I collected. And I have no idea what happened to that money once I didn't get it.
When you send in your post dues, it gets logged in that you pay your dues. But that has nothing to do with your post and the IRS and your tax ID number. Hopefully, the check that you send me from post 17, you have a bank account. Touch base with your bank, find out under what tax ID number your account is open under. And then use that tax ID, share that with me, so I can do a little bit of research, and then you'll have to follow up with the IRS. Just because you send me your dues does not mean. I had a situation earlier this year, Igor Rutko, I'm gonna mention it, where, Igor Rutko's has a post in Connecticut, and he was using a tax ID number. Well, that post is now, became part of Self-Reliance, where Chicago, that's where our account is at, Self-Reliance Chicago. Self-Reliance Chicago bought the Connecticut rights of, Self-Reliance, they merged. And they also merged with another, state, another Maryland or Maine or one of those two. When I went to download my information from the bank, because I get everything electronically, I went to download my information. Everything was working smooth until earlier this year, when all of a sudden I was locked out. I had to take my computer, I've tried everything, I couldn't get in. I went to Self-Reliance, I sat down with their IT people, and I said, I didn't change my phone number, I didn't change my account number. What is going on? They looked into it and they said, that's because somebody in Connecticut is using the same tax ID number as you. So I said, who? And he says, I can't tell you, but it's somebody in Connecticut. He says, I will correct it. And he corrected it, put my phone number and my email back in there. I was able to finally get in. A month later, I'm knocked out again. I got a little PO'd. I took it back to the IT guy at Self-Reliance, and I says, you have to give me a name. He said, Connecticut post, whatever post it was. So I then contacted Igor Rutko. I says, are you still using the national tax ID number? Because when they merged, they took his tax ID number, and because I was already for national using that tax ID number, they kind of incorporated it without me knowing about it. But he's not part of the group filing. So I asked him to go out and get his own tax ID number. So it's important. When I file taxes, my name is behind that. The organization is behind that. I am the fiduciary. I am responsible. And the last thing I need is if somebody is using the national tax ID number, that at the IRS throws our numbers off. It raises a lot of questions that had we not merged with Connecticut, I probably wouldn't have had any idea. But the amount was so small that I'm not gonna go back and make the corrections. I'm just hoping that from that point forward, we correct the situation.
Posts that haven't paid their dues, where they were supposed to be due by April 15th for me, they're not allowed to have delegates here or vote at this convention, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's why I asked the judge advocate before this convention. I need a list of who are the delegates. He sent out an email to all the commanders. Give me a list of your delegates, give me a list of your alternates. And he's got the list. And I started reviewing, I grabbed the adjutant's list prior to this, and I started penciling in off of his list onto my tracking sheet of who paid and who's listed as a delegate. Because when we have votes, I assure you, I'm gonna ask for a voice vote. I wanna make sure that the delegates that are legit are the ones that are voting.
Thank you.
Unlike in the past, all in favor, aye. Who's aye? Okay, we're gonna run this like a real organization, Joe. The way it should be run. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Michael,
If somebody paid their dues at the last moment,
you're in,
you're okay?
you're, because
Even though
you
it's after
you gave me a check yesterday, you're in.
To reply to his question, he was specific about the date of April.
Yes, well, the Constitution,
Okay.
if they pay me today and they're listed as a delegate, okay, then they have a vote. You know, that much, we will give a little bit of leeway.
I don't want to be going up.
Okay. I'll make you stand in the corner. Roland,
The IRS filing for 2024, will it be the same as it was for 23 as far as the group filing is concerned?
yes, sir, except I dropped, well,
Yeah.
2 years ago, I had to drop those 3
Right.
posts.
Are you planning to change that sometime?
I work full-time. I have my organization to run. I am also the POA, power of attorney, for a fellow veteran, our commander from the American Legion, who has no other immediate family, and he's been in a hospital for 4 months. I am his power of attorney, working with his doctors, and so my wife says, I think I bit off more than I can chew. Okay, so I've got my hands full, but I'm doing the best I can. As soon as Adam is home from the hospital and he's able to start managing on his own, I will have a little more time to work with. I called last year and spoke to a CPA, because it's gonna take a CPA to unravel this, okay? And I spoke to him and he asked me to pull all the information. I downloaded the information, but I have not had an opportunity to meet with him. I'm hoping that by the end of this year, early part of next year, I will be able to sit down with that CPA.
So
I
you
plan on retiring my job at the end of February, so that'll give me a lot more time on my hands.
Great. So you're planning that in a year or two, every post will file with their own IRS?
I'm
like a
hoping,
990?
I would like to get, we should have never gone this route. If we didn't have 100% participation as a group filing, we should have never gone this route. Secondly, the problem it creates is when I send the group filing people a list and a letter stating, please submit to me last year's breakdown of what you collected, how much you expensed, so that, and your bottom line. I also asked last year for the first time, send me a copy of your December bank statements.
Right,
Because I have three organizations that, the first thing that the accountant that I gave the paperwork to looked at. 3 organizations. They finished December with $20,250. They open up January in their report, $6,500. What happened overnight? So I have to know at the end of December
Yeah.
what, and if you don't want me to know your bank account, by all means, blank out your bank account. But send me that December statement if you're part of the group. Okay,
Because obviously you report on an annual basis.
that is correct. We report, that's why when we have the 4 quarters, it's January through March, April through June, July.
Right.
We're not fiscal, we are fiscal year, not calendar year. We are calendar year, not fiscal year. Fiscal year starts December 1st. Any other questions? We're done.
Franco Halkovich told me he paid twice. Does he get 2 votes?
I'll let the judge advocate answer.
There's no vote for being, foolish.
Good response.
Fiscal year starts first of December? No.
I'm sorry? We filed January through December. That's fiscal year.
No, that's.
calendar year.
Through the 30th of December.
I'm sorry,
That's
that's calendar year. I stand corrected. Calendar year. Fiscal year is December 1st through November.
Whose fiscal year?
We're not. I'm just saying, I'm just giving you the comparison. There's a fiscal year and there's a calendar year. Calendar year means we are required to file our taxes by May. If you were fiscal year, you are required to. So we are calendar, I am required to file by the 15th of May. If I don't have everyone's figures by before 15th of May, because I have to consolidate everything and get it to the accountant, then I file for an extension. Then we have until November 15th.
Because when you were talking about fiscal year 1st of December, is that a theoretical fiscal year or an actual fiscal?
That's the IRS.
IRS. Okay, so it's not the federal fiscal year that starts 1st of October.
No,
That's government.
that's government.
Oh, so they're different. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's the government. That's why we're shut down.
Hey, Peter, if you're having trouble chewing, you can talk to, Yato and maybe he can get you some extra teeth to make it easier to chew.
Disregard.
Hey, I was trying to get him more business, you know?
Any other questions?
Just for some background, because I was a judge advocate before I became a commander. We weren't enforcing the April 15th deadline. So part of what we have to do is look back on our own requirements and say, right, if we pretty much, if this is gonna be the way we want to do it, this is the way we have to conduct ourselves. So that would be part of it, is to turn a new leaf, I would say.
Every post knows how many members they have.
Right.
And I know that a lot of posts wait until everybody pays their dues to the post before sending it in. You guys have a bank account. I have a bank account. When it's time to pay the dues, I have 46 members. I pay for 46. I've got the rest of the year to collect the rest of that money from them.
Right.
There should be no holdup of why we missed the April 15th deadline for sending in your dues. Some of you posts have only got 10 people. Send in $250 and then work on getting your money back from your people. If they don't give it back to you, your post covered it. Or you decide whether you want them in your post or not.
We just had, our post commander Jerry, and he's also the treasurer. And he says that he sent you a check and he gave us the check number for our post back in July. Okay, so July, August, I'm not sure. Okay, so.
I brought the books with me. I will go through it. I will,
Right, and for some reason, there is none. You want me to, I'll write a personal check for the post so we can be in good stand.
yes, sir. I will look through the books during this meeting. Okay, I brought them all with me, sir. I don't want you to pay twice like Zenko. Any other questions? That is my financial report, subject to audit, gentlemen. Commander?
I move that we approve the financial report as presented.
That we brought it.
Yeah, we have part of the committee is that they're gonna audit, with an annual audit.
Okay, I amend my thing. I said, I move we approve it, subject to audit.
Anybody second?
Second.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you. Next, we have quartermaster who's been excused. He did submit a report. It's in your folders. I don't see it in the folder.
I don't read it.
All right. Yeah, I don't see the quartermaster. Okay, so we'll move on to the welfare officer.
We need to pull out the welfare report, looks like this, out of your packet, please. You can follow with me. This report is from January 1st through September 30th. Each month when I get the financial statement from the credit union, I make out one of these reports. So we started the year, and I'm gonna ignore cents. We started the year with $60,545. On the income side, we had a little bit of dividend. We had a donation. In other words, the welfare fund drive collected through this period of time, $15,375. And that was basically made up of 5 credit unions and 105 UAV members, which means there's 23.3% of our membership that participated in this welfare drive. That's a pretty low number. We also, on the income side, had a Birch Fund distribution of 625 and a loan repayment of 200. So the total income for this period was $16,201. On the expense side, we issued 6 grants totaling $7,500 for this period. This month, we got 2 more. So far this year, come through today, we gave out 8 grants. We had some expenses for envelopes and stamps and mailings, and we spent $9,000 on a gap trial analysis trip. So the total expense was $17,126. You take that in difference to the income, that means our cash flow for this period was reduced by $924. You take that reduction from the total of, that we started out with, of $60,545, that says our current position is $59,620, almost $60,000. That amount is located in the Ukrainian Self-Reliance Michigan Federal Credit Union. The savings account is $794. The checking is $11,570. The CD is $47,256, equaling that same amount of $59,620. So it balances to the financial statements that I got from the credit union. On the other hand, right now, I really would like to thank the board, and I would like to thank the board and membership from the last 9 years for allowing me to have this position. I am thankful and honored, but it comes time to replace him with someone else. Somebody that's younger, that's not 68 years old. So thank you again, and any questions?
Yes, could you tell us what the gap analysis?
Any questions to the gap analysis strip, I will ask the national commander to discuss.
I'll bring it up under other business.
So can we discuss that now? So we understand what this is about?
You wanna, what is,
I think that's gonna be quite lengthy, Matt,
Well, for the purposes of,
because I have quite a bit of information I would like to bring up also. So can we put this off until
certain period
Later on.
of time?
so that we can get the entire story instead of just a little piecemeal?
Wait, is this gonna be discussed at this convention then?
Yes.
Yeah,
Then we can't approve the,
yes, it will be. Yeah, there are people who have questions.
then we can't approve the welfare report then, right? We can't take a vote and approve it.
well, is the welfare fund, I think that's one of the, I think when we have the financial audit, we're gonna have to get somebody to be in charge of that, because it can't really be Peter, if Peter's being audited. So it's gonna have to be whoever volunteers, but I would think that all the financial reports, as long as whatever is presented to the audit, that would be when we would approve that.
What are you approving really? You're approving, is the report accurate? That's what you're approving. Are the numbers correct?
Correct.
It's not what was spent, that can be addressed later on, but you're approving if the numbers are correct in the report. If they're correct, then you can approve the report. If you feel the numbers are incorrect, then don't approve the report. But the fact that whether money was spent on another venue or topic, that can be addressed later on, as Peter Benchak mentions.
So the motion should state that, I move to approve the accuracy of the report.
Accurate.
That's what the motion should state.
Is there anyone who seconds?
Pending report, so
Well, that's right.
No.
It's gonna be part of the audit, then it'll be the same thing. We would have to defer to the audit. All right, the only thing I'll say right now, since it will be discussed later, because we do want to get the National Executive Board to talk about something before we present it to the membership. The gap analysis was something that was presented at the 11th hour, and we had two individuals, Roman Fontana, a member at large, and our adjutant, Mark Dotskuski, who went to Ukraine, and they met with different organizations that have to do with assisting veterans in Ukraine. We were trying to get an update from things that we did when Peter Bensat was the national commander back in August 2018. We initiated some of the contacts. Then later on with Ehud Vitkaz, the national commander, and we're just trying to see. Since the large scale invasion, we haven't had the greatest communications with Ministry of Veterans Affairs and really the Ministry of Defense all that much. But we do have some individuals that we have worked with over the years, some of which we've known for what, 8, 9 years. So we do have a certain amount of contacts, and that's what we were trying to do, is try to refresh the information. The actual reports aren't going to be ready, unfortunately, for the convention, since the trip was done so late. But we will be issuing the report first to the National Executive Board, then to the posts for the membership, to try to get an idea of what kind of things are happening right there, what's not happening, what we can assist with, what we could maybe find other people to assist with. Because we're working, for example, one of the things that just got reported to me yesterday, again, the 11th hour, was the Veterans Court. That was a project that Roman Fontana started, I think, almost 7 or 8 years ago. And we got the Ukrainian American Bar Association involved. We don't know the extent of their involvement yet, but it just shows that there's things that we can do, and that's what we're trying to do. I was trying basically to reward the initiative that they wanted to do something to get an updated information, updated intel in a sense of where we could proceed as an organization, not individuals. If individuals want to do things, for example, the Posts have humanitarian projects that they're working on. Chicago's doing something pretty impressive. So is Carl Harvey's Post. So is the Boston Post.
Lehigh Valley.
Yes, I was going to mention that next. But, so, and that's something that when we have the Post Commander's report that we'd like to hear about, because these are things that we could share that show that community involvement and that support. Now, it's interesting because, again, we'll have more discussion later, but one of the things that was interesting is when we had the trip where we were invited in August of 2021 to the Veterans Forum. That was our second Veterans Forum. The Minister of Veterans Affairs, Minister Lapagina, retired Major General, who we think is back on active duty, even though we don't really know. She invited Ehud and myself also at the last minute, literally what, 2 weeks before we had to leave, or 2.5 weeks. And of course, that brings up a question, like, why are you guys inviting us so late? And it was interesting, the reply that we got from Minister Lapatina. She said, because, you know, that was during COVID. So during the year, they said they were going to have the Veterans Forum, then they said they're not going to have it, then they're going to have, so they went back and forth. So she invited us, and we actually came down in person to Washington, to the embassy. And we asked her privately, because she had a very interesting and compelling presentation, lasted over an hour, her experience with the Russo-Ukrainian War and what her vision was of the Ministry of Veterans Affairs. This is back in August 2021. So privately, she told Ehud and myself, well, what happened is they had these Soviet legacy military hospitals, and we basically didn't have the money to maintain them, so they were starting to fall apart, and we decided we're going to raise a couple of them. We showed up with a crew to one of them, and they started trying to demolish the hospital, and the veterans showed up and beat up the crew, set the vans on fire, or whatever it is, but basically chased them away and said, this is our place, leave it alone. So President Zelensky determined that the veterans are a political force. And that's why he wants to show, well, that's why we want to show, the Ministry of Veterans Affairs, that there's some kind of an effort from the veterans here in the United States to try to help, you know, the Ukrainian veterans. Because they're having a tough time. The last information that I got was from Colonel Andrei Ordinovich, who attended a couple of our conventions, I think starting with Yonkers. And he told me, again, this is over the course of the last 2 weeks, he said, the Ministry of Veterans Affairs, who's now in a new minister, and this is like 2 ministers after Minister Lapatina, that they get a budget of about 15 million hryvnia, but the actual initiatives that we're seeing are a regional approach. So it's not really the same way we have our VA, that's a centralized approach. So again, it's complicated. We're just trying to figure out what the information is. That doesn't mean we can solve all the problems, because Peter knows, Ehud knows. We establish these connections, we try to maintain, and we have maintained some of them, but we don't know what direction we're going to go in. And I guess that just a thumbnail sketch of, like, that's why when I was presented with these 2 guys taking the initiative, I said, you know what, let's see what we can get out of this. And then we'll discuss it in more detail.
The issue isn't whether we should be doing this. The issue whether this money should have been taken out of the welfare fund. That's what we need to discuss.
Well, we're going to have
We can address that after the fact.
That's fine.
Yeah, or we can address that later on. As Peter said, it's going to be a full discussion on that. So
Where on the agenda would we put that?
Well, no, we have old business and new
new
business.
business.
Matter. Pardon my ignorance, what does gap mean? In the financial world, I'm thinking of generally accepted principles of accounting.
Mhm.
What does gap mean?
Well, basically, it was to find out what's been happening with the veterans
No,
since.
but GAP, what?
Probably,
what
if
is
you
the
want
sign-
simplistic terms, shortfall analysis. In other words, what's the shortfall in getting a project completed? Where's the gap
It'd be
between?
helpful to have that.
Right, I understand.
Well,
So
after the
Okay,
last,
It's like if you're doing a project, okay, and you want to accomplish something down the road, all right? And you have whatever finances you have now, or whatever assets you have now, what do you need to get that project finally completed? And that's the gap. And that's what basically they're looking
Maybe a
at.
little bit of explanation would be.
Granted, shortfall.
That's all.
during the
We're
last,
addressing that gap too.
during the last National Executive Board quarterly meeting, I did send out the solicitation letter that defined what the gap analysis was. Everybody got it. You got it too. I sent it out while we're having the meeting.
I know we agreed not to discuss this, but we've been discussing it for 15 minutes. Any chance we could take a break?
Yeah. By the way, before we take a break, administrative announcement. Go see, Zenka's wife, Olenka, to order your lunch from whatever delicatessen it is that we're ordering it from. Before we come back. So again, right now I have 12 after, come back 25 after.
All right.
And also one other announcement, if you guys can check, basically post commanders, make sure that anyone that died within the last year's on the
That's
list.
right. That's
If
right.
they're not, put them in there so that we can, later, tomorrow when we have our, all those that passed, we can make sure everybody's on the list.
Yep. So take a break, come back 25 after. With the intent, the convention is for all of us to know who we are and what we're doing. And of course, also at the same time, make some decisions about what kind of things we want to get involved with as an organization, but then also hear about what the posts are doing. So pretty soon, we're going to be seeing more of the activity reports from the posts. But it's good that I'm getting feedback that people are learning something, and that makes me feel good. So without further ado, our scholarship officer, Dr. Nick Siuka.
All right, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Nice to see everybody.
Oh, Nick.
Okay, my scholarship report, I have a couple of things that I want to tell you what's going on. Let me give you the totals for this year. The CD has $12,616. Savings has $919, and checking has $10,986 for a total of $24,522. We fundraised over 1,000 more than last year. Last year we had slightly over 7,000. This year we went over 8,000. And the reason is Peter Benzak, our finance officer, gave me a $450 tax return for the scholarship fund, and I never received, in the 50 years, I never got a tax return from the IRS. So that was a good deal. That was the first good deal that I, had, but it was for the scholarship fund. And also, he was able to give us from the Birch Foundation $650 as well. So those two totals brought us over 1,000 that we got from last year. As a result, we had 10 people that applied for the scholarship. It was only 10 people. Last year we had 12, so we gave everybody $500 last year. So this year we're giving everybody $600, the 10 people. So that was good. And then I have some changes I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna give this to Joe. This past year, we had 5 topics to write about, military topics or related topics. We took 2 of those topics out, and we added the UAV Oral History Project. We're gonna try to give this a run. Oksana Koziak is the one that kind of brought it to my attention, so we sat down and figured out how to do it. And we think it's a good idea. We have some sample questions. If somebody wants to go and interview a Ukrainian American veteran, we have questions for them to ask, and they can write an article and, as an essay, for the UAV. So we're making some changes to the topics going forward next year. If anybody wants to have a master total, if you want to check if I missed you on the list in terms of your donation or something, I have a copy of the master's list. And then I sent out an article which I got, people gave me some suggestions for changes. There are some mistakes in there, and I'm still going to revise it. And the article will go out, I would think, by the end of October. It'll go into the Ukrainian Weekly, the Tribune, and also I'll give it to Joe, and he can post it on the website. And there'll be 10 pictures of the students that applied. So all of that's in the works. And then I have, if somebody's interested, I brought in four essays. If anybody wants to read them, two of these essays I gave to Bogdan Dudic so he can put it into the Tribune for December. It's going to be Jared Roderick and Jared Hrishak. So I got two of them. They're both graduate students, and they wrote some nice essays. And then I have two more here. I have one from Sloan Skiba, I think from Michigan, Warren, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's Adriana Hudulich. So yeah, so that's another one. So if you want to read some of the essays that the students are writing, I have copies of that. And I think that's about the whole report. And if you're interested in knowing who applied, I can give you that information as well. Okay, do I have any questions on the scholarship report?
If you go to a trade school, can you still apply for this scholarship?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's the other thing. If you need an application and information about our procedures and how we do things, just go to uavets.org. It's all there.
Didn't answer the question.
So is that a yes or is that a no?
Can he still file?
No, not now.
No.
Yeah, the filing date.
Welding
No.
If
you go to a trade
program.
Yeah, you can go, it's in there. You could go, if you go to a trade school for cooking or something else, and you get a 2-year degree, you can apply. You can apply, undergraduates can apply 4 times. So they could be as a freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. And I have guys that apply 4 years straight, so they get $2,000 over that, 4 years. And we also changed that with Bogdan Dudic's recommendation to include two graduate students can apply for 2 years. So they could, it's a good deal, and I have students that apply pretty regularly, so they're making some pretty good money in terms of, buying some school supplies or, pay for registration or pay for something else. Any other questions?
No, just to augment, Nick, Thomas Shibatak from Pennsylvania is in Wake Forest University, majoring in accountancy. My son, Jared Itzhak, is a graduate student at University of California, Irvine. He's getting a master's. As a matter of fact, he's finishing in December with a master's in computer engineering. Mia Zedek from Pennsylvania is attending University of Pittsburgh, where she's majoring in political science. Sloan Skiba is from Virginia, is attending West Virginia University, majoring in interior architecture and minoring in painting. And one of the essays, besides Jared, my son Jared, is another Jared Roderick from Massachusetts. He's a graduate student who attends Florida State University majoring in statistics. Riley Roderick from Massachusetts.
sister.
Yes, is attending University of Alabama, majoring in biomedical engineering. Sophia Svihun from Connecticut, Indiana, attends Duke University, majoring in electrical and computer engineering, minoring in physics and Spanish. Stephen Shiptot from Pennsylvania is attending Butler Community College. He's majoring in nursing. Adriana Kedulich from Pennsylvania attends University of Pittsburgh, majoring in biochemistry. And finally, Ayana Story from Michigan attends Northern Michigan University, where she is majoring in fine arts. And if you read the report that's in your packet, it does answer the question. To be eligible for a UAV scholarship, applicants must be descendants of or related to a Ukrainian American veteran who is or was a member of the Ukrainian American Veterans Organization. That's something that we.
Does that include grandchildren?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah,
descendants.
relatives, uncle, aunts, grandchildren.
And the applicants should be full-time undergraduate or part-time graduate students in a degree program. And or students attending accredited trade schools or institutions that have a degree program are eligible. Students can apply after they graduate from high school. College attendance will be verified before the awards are given in the fall semester. Applications are accepted year-round, but the deadline, as Nick said, is August 31st. I am proud to say both my sons, both for their bachelor's and their master's, did get scholarships from the Ukrainian American Veterans, and they actually wrote some interesting essays. One of them was based on the Boston Post with that lieutenant that worked for the Office of Special Services that later on was also interred in Arlington National Cemetery. So there's some really interesting material in the essay.
There is very good articles, and two of them are gonna be in the Tribune in December, so you can read it there, and I'm sure he'll have the article from the Ukrainian Weekly in there with the pictures of the recipients, so it's a good deal. I mean, to be perfectly honest, students can write some good articles. They do research, they're in college, so you get some really good articles from them. I'm very impressed with it.
Yeah, by the way, my son heard, because he lives in California, that we went to Arlington National Cemetery for First Sergeant Novradsky's funeral, and he wrote an essay about it, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Which will be.
But it brings us all up to date. Like, this is the stuff that's happening right now. Imagine, he was killed behind America. He did a full 20 years in the Marine Corps, retired as first sergeant. And then later, in April 2024, he volunteered to fight for the Ukrainians. And he was killed behind Russian lines in October 2024. But his body wasn't repatriated until the beginning of April 2025. So we didn't have the funeral until July 3rd. But I am proud to say Bogdan was there, Budkov was there, I was there, Yada was there, and about 4 other post members, right? From post 26. And then we had the defense attaché, the ambassador from Ukrainian embassy, and about 150 people showed up for this funeral. So that is incredible. That,
Also some Philadelphia was there too.
Yes.
What's that?
The ambassador was there also.
Yeah, I said the ambassador, the defense attaché, plus the air attaché, I think. And it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
What's more important, right after the funeral, we're walking back, Bogdan and I, and Mark, to the car, and we run into 4 of the people that were fighting with Novradsky that are volunteers from here in the United States. Some of them weren't even veterans. They volunteered to fight. One of them was like, oh yeah, in 3 weeks, I'm going back to Ukraine to keep fighting. So we were quite taken with that. That's real world, real time. So you're right. That gives you a picture of what's happening currently in Ukraine, and then also some of the other essays talk about other Ukrainians that have served valiantly, and really they're a credit to the Ukrainian Americans and veterans in general. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
kind of new to this, I just was curious in how the scholarships are awarded by, I mean, who is making the donations? Is it coming from the?
I have
fund or is
a
it coming
master
from-
list. I think I received 65 donations. If anybody wants to double check there, yeah, I have,
Right, but it kind of calls out which, like it was from, 200 from Andrew
yeah.
Valonska, 100 from somebody else. I'm just. It
Yeah,
comes to the
it's-
general
it's,
fund. How do they decide
Well,
who's giving it to who?
yeah, well, this year, when it was 500, if a bank gave 250 and somebody else gave 250, that was a good match, so that was a $500 award. This year, we went up to $600, which kind of just turned everything upside down. I had to figure out, so, for instance, Post 40 donated $1,000. That was good for 2 awards. But then Ron Diak gave $200. So I took his and he's from Post 40. So I took his 100 and put it in the first award, and then the second one, the second $100. So a lot of thought goes into it. It's not as easy as you think.
I can imagine. Okay.
Well, a couple of conventions ago, it was voted on that if somebody donated, I think it was 100 or more, that they would get.
Yeah,
They
it
would
was
get recognition.
200 or more, but
Or
we
maybe
even
200.
used 100. If they give 100, we give, and then I kind of mix it up. If one person was there last year, then I give it to, and especially people who donate consecutive years, I bring them into the picture.
You're kind of trying to recognize the donors, basically, right?
What's
I
that?
mean, even though it's coming from the UAV Scholarship Fund, you're recognizing the donors when you were making the award.
Yes.
Is that fair to say, or?
What was that?
You're recognizing the donors to the fund. Like when you say it's coming.
Yeah, I do,
Yes.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, I think it's a good idea because it gets the community involved. They say, oh, I donate, look, and I'm in the, and that's good. Then they'll pass it on to somebody else reads it, and then they start to donate. So that's the reason why I do that. And and again, it's to tie the community in. It's not just a veterans thing, and you don't know who donated, you don't know what's going on. So you get a good picture of it. And it'll be in the Ukrainian Weekly, I would say, within 2 weeks. And then the Tribune, or you could check it out on the website. It'll all be there.
Any other questions? Thank you, Nick.
Okay,
And next, we have General Constitution.
I move that we approve the scholarship report and finance report pending audit.
Peter Benzak, second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. General Kundrachuk, our monument officer.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good to see everybody. Nice
Good morning.
turnout, nice turnout. So Steve Kostecki, the outgoing quartermaster, is retiring from his position. He's in the hospital. He's been there for about 7, 8 days. He's in rehab now. I'm gonna be sending a get well card if you all sign it. I know he'd appreciate it. He had a GI problem about a week ago. And had to go to the hospital. They gave him a transfusion, and he's doing well in rehab. We hope to see him out of the hospital sometime soon. So my report is the financial. I'll be talking later about my activities. So the UAV Monument Fund, the savings account has $20,631.41. I'm going to give you the report in a minute, Peter. CD with $52,096.52. Total of $72,727.93 does not include, during my activity report, I'll be talking about some purchases that did not hit this yet. We'll hit it after the convention. So it's not reflected in these figures. Fund is held by the Ukrainian Federal Credit Union in Westwood, Massachusetts. That concludes my report for financial.
What was that total again?
Total in the monument account is $72,727.93.
Thank you.
And of note, General Kundachuk and a couple of other people like Matt Koziak have been involved with the monument for,
Since the beginning.
which is over about 20 years ago. Right? 10 years ago, it was dedicated. We're gonna have a service tomorrow at 1500 for commemorating 10 years. But the actual project took what, about 10 plus years?
To raise the money.
To raise the money.
Well, raise the money, improve the design, get it, get it built.
Yeah.
And really, it's a great example of something that our organization can do and some of the specialized individuals that followed through on it. And we're always thankful to you, General Kundachuk. We're
Matt
thankful
and
to
the
Matt.
committee. Yep.
And exactly, and the other, well, there's other people that were involved. I'm not-
Other people, that's why I said, many of them are no longer with us, they've passed away.
Yes.
Walter Bodnar, gave on his estate, he passed away, was the adjutant, and it was the secretary of the committee. $25,000 came from his estate.
Right, and that was only a couple of years ago.
Yes, it was.
And he's buried here in Boundbrook.
So we're all proud of that monument, how it came out. It's, when we go over there tomorrow to have a photographs taken, took a lot of time, a lot of effort. Was well worth it. It's a beautiful monument. Since then, I've been involved in building monuments in Massachusetts as well. I live outside of Boston. And this is probably one of the best I've ever been involved in.
And I do have a question. I know Chicago also has a monument project. Is that something that General Kundachuk can help with, or are you guys pretty much on your own with that?
We're covered.
Well, I'm just,
Under business.
all right,
Under.
thank you,
I'll be
General.
there later in the month. Yeah.
That's the monument.
Make a motion that we accept, the monument report.
Second, any further discussion?
Yeah, I just have one observation. Not only is it visitors to the cemetery, families, other Ukrainians when there are services here, but we get lots of visitors from the people who stay in these various hotels that are coming here, and predominantly, I've got to say, a lot of Asian folks that are coming here to visit New York and America. And they come over here and get pictures taken. I've had firsthand experience in seeing this, but it's also been reported. If you ask Patricia Daniel, he would be able to tell you. So we get these lots of pictures of our monument goes around the world.
Thank you, General.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Next, we have. Actually, we have lunch at 12:30, but what we could do is start the activity reports and then we'll see, lunch might be available at 12. The first activity report is me.
Report's in there. Your report is.
It is. I just left it. I just got it right here.
Point of order.
Right here. Right here.
Point of order, Commander, the lunch will be here at 12:45.
All right, so we'll keep going with activity reports. So these are the financial reports, just to give you an idea. Peter has a tough job because I think you have to report all the funds for everybody, right?
Our 5 committees, national, and 8 posts that are part of the group.
No, but how about the welfare fund, scholarship
That's
fund?
what I said, the 5 committees.
Oh, those are called committees, okay, all right,
5 committees, national, and 8 posts.
all right, so it's not an easy job. Anyway, I thank everybody for their financial reports. It's really heartening. I mean, the reason I brought up my son is to let you know that I'm one of the beneficiaries of it. Anybody who has children that are going to college right now or graduate school, things have changed, but a good education is always a foundation for many different things, especially in the Ukrainian American diaspora. It's important for us to have those future leaders, and they're the ones that we're encouraging, and something like these different committees or projects are something that helps the Ukrainian community in many different ways. So that is a very, very important part of what we do as the Ukrainian American Veterans. Now, my report inadvertently wasn't in the folder, but it was handed out later. It's also available electronically if somebody wants to get a copy. I also am like the acting state commander for New Jersey. However, we have 4 posts, post 6, again, as the finance officer said, there hasn't been any activity with post 6 in a while. However, we do have one member, Mark Dotskuski, that became active 2 years ago. And then we have a couple of other members. We're gonna have to see what we're gonna do with that. It's an ongoing project. It's my own fault that it hasn't gone any further. Post 17, which happens to be the host post for this convention, is Jim Fedorko. He's our post commander. We have him, Nestor Ninka, Andrea Zavich, Yarko, Stavnici, and who else do we have? And Zanin Halkovich, all from post 17 here. So they are active, as you can tell. Post 25 Trenton.
Michael Burak, too,
Where?
right here.
Oh, okay, I just didn't see you from behind the,
So short.
I'm not saying anybody has any, a large head, but I didn't see you. Anyway, what's important is post 25 Trenton, even though I don't think he's been active in a post, I know he called me, it was like a year and a quarter ago. And he said, even though I don't have meetings, I do want to pay the dues. I don't know if he ever paid them, but he does want to pay the dues for post 25. The post commander for post 25. Posiwa, Posewa. Anyway, and then the last post that was mentioned, post 30. We haven't had any activity with them in a long time, unfortunately, but that doesn't.
Post 25, I still have listed as 4 members, none of them have paid.
All right, so I'm gonna see if I can follow up with that, but again, what we're trying to do is encourage posts, kind of revitalize them, so that's. We'll see how successful we are next year when we meet again. And then in terms of the activities, there's quite a few activities I was involved with, but what was interesting was I did attend the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America Convention, even though Nick Skip has been our liaison for a couple of years. The intent was to see if there's something that that organization can do that can work with us to unite the Ukrainian American community. Since then, they added us and Ukrainian Medical Association of North America, UMANA, as members of the executive council, and we have met, I think, every quarter. And anyway, I've attended the meetings. Mark Dotskuski has attended a couple because I know I couldn't make at least one meeting. So far, we haven't seen all that much. They did say they want the posts, and I'm talking about all our posts, to try to interact with the local, what do they call them, chapters for?
Yeah, the local branches.
Local branches for Ukrainian Congress Committee of America. And then at the end of the meeting, the last quarterly meeting, I said, it would help if you gave me the information about the posts, because even in New Jersey, when you go to their online site, they only have certain posts listed there. So we know that there's branches in New Jersey. And even though we might have only, some people active in New Jersey, that's an example of, if you want us to work with the branches, we have to know who they are and what they're doing. But anyway, we're gonna see if there's something we can do to eventually develop with our relationship with the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America. One of the things that we haven't done, I don't think we've paid dues to them, right? I don't think so.
We have on occasion.
I think in the past, but not in the
The
last.
last time I recall we paid dues was when we first joined them. I have not seen, or nobody's ever brought up any dues since.
I know. And it's funny because it's like that other organization now that you attended in Washington. what's the name? Coalition?
Oh, American Coalition for Ukraine, the Ukrainian
Yes,
Action
they-
Summit.
They had what, about 600 people?
Yeah, 600 delegates.
This was like at the end of
the
October
spring.
last year. And I think what, 2/3 of them were non-Ukrainian?
That was the one in the spring, and they're having one at the end of
It
the
was,
month.
it was very well organized. What they did was they took all the people that volunteered to come down to Washington. And they organized them in groups according to their congressional districts, and they actually had like leaders that would go over what issues in those districts are worth bringing up for supporting Ukraine. And again, we were really impressed. There was a lot of people from the South, right?
Yeah,
And they were non-Ukrainians, 2/3 of them. So we were like, wow. However, recently, without naming any names, Yuri Tchaikovsky said, why don't we join them and pay dues? And I said, well, no, if we have individual members that are participating, and I'm not picking at the Tchaikovsky, I'm just using that as an example because when they want an organization to join, I think they want like a $2,000 a year dues or
they
something.
sent all the information.
It's a good idea, but it's not something that right now we're ready for, but we are ready to have. Besides Mark, I think Bogdan was involved too. Yeah, Bogdan Bansky was
And
involved.
Yara attended.
And Yado Orishkevich, they attended that coalition. I thought it was interesting because again, they were very well organized. And it was similar to what we've done when we've visited, Congress to, basically to ask for continued support to Ukraine.
The only, let me chime in here. The only problem is that when you were assigned to teams, you could not go to visit, say, if you're from Maryland, you could not go to visit a congressman from North Carolina or Montana or whatever. You had to stay within your district or your voting, whoever your voting representative was. So that was kind of a drawback to the conference.
But, I just wanted to bring it up because it's kind of interesting that we have, that kind of lobbying and that we do have members that have been involved in it. So I encourage all of you guys to keep doing what you're doing and eventually, in reality, I'm going to update my talking points. I took a break after the incident at the White House in February. But the talking points that I have for the Ukrainian American Veterans, and it's something that came up at the convention 2 years ago, that we should be publishing talking points. We should be portraying ourselves as a professional organization. So what we do is we emphasize information, not partisan politics or anything else. And again, things like this are good activities to recognize how much support the United States actually gives us. That doesn't mean we're endorsing a candidate or, we like one president more than the other. That's immaterial to us as a national organization and especially as a veterans organization. What's important for us is to point out what kind of support, we're getting. For example, just out of curiosity, when Peter Binsak was a national commander and we went to our first Veterans Forum in August 2018, we visited Yabadu, which is their maneuver training center. It has a simulation center on site and then it has area for maneuver training. And at that time, there was 150 soldiers as instructors from the 278th Armored Cavalry Regiment, Tennessee Army National Guard. They were on 9-month rotations. There's been 9-month rotations of U.S. Army or Reserve component units, I think as far back as 2014, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And it's really relevant, up to date type of training that we give our troops too when they're getting ready for deployment. Now, since the large scale invasion, I'm just giving you a thumbnail sketch because it's important to know this. Since the large scale invasion, Yabri was attacked by the Russians. So what they did was they moved the instructors, because there's also a Canadian Army and United Kingdom Army instructors there that we saw in Yabri. They moved it to Grafenberg. And of course, anybody like me who's an armor guy, Grafenberg is where we did tank gunnery, and that's been around forever. So that's been where the training location after February 2022 was moved to. But the US continued the 9-month rotations. And one of the last rotations was they had they don't call it change of command, they call it RIPTO, Relief in Place Transfer of Authority. That's when Pennsylvania Army National Guard, the Stryker Brigade, in June 1st, handed it over back to the 278th ACR. So they're back again training the Ukrainians. Now, as an aside, we had some discussion on some of the text message groups we had about how the Ukrainians are complaining that the training is not up to par, and they didn't really know what they were doing. So I went, and again, my responsibility if I'm going to be publishing talking points. I went on Facebook posts. 278th ACR is pretty good with their whatever they call public relations now,
Public affairs.
public affairs. And I'm looking at all these instructors, NCOs and some officers, and they all have combat patches. So I'm like, wait a minute, it can't be that these guys don't know what they're doing, because besides the fact that we personally know that they did at least one rotation prior to this in 2018. So again, this is an aside, but it's interesting information to share with all of us as veterans. My brother volunteered. He's a Department of the Army civilian, but he's he was chief engineer of demilitarization of ammunition. Anyway, they were looking for translators, and of course, since he's fluent in Ukrainian, he volunteered for a 6-month TDY as a Ukrainian translator with Security Assistance Group Ukraine, SAGU, which is a joint headquarters out of Clay Kaserne in Germany. And he got to sit in on meetings and also translate documents having to do with things like, well, supporting that joint command includes, of course, Ukrainian officers and other multinational officers, whatever they call the allies now. And they're the ones that coordinate everything, the training, the logistical support. And it's just interesting because, you know, one of the things that he noted from one of the other people that was assigned to SAGU was, no, the Ukrainians are complaining about the training because they're sending some people without the proper equipment and that are not trained to the training. So they, of course, they can't get, you know, the full benefit of it. However, if you look at the fact that before Kursk, there were 6 corps headquarters stood up by the Ukrainians. That's, even though they're calling them corps, they're really division level headquarters. And then about 6 months ago or 7 months ago, they stood up another 6 corps headquarters. And I think it's being very effective in terms of how they're basically the Russian counteroffensive from January through August was a failure. And it resulted in about 210,000 Russian casualties. And enough vehicles were lost to almost comprise 6 divisions. And it was a retired SEAL that gave an assessment. And he basically said, no country has ever recovered from that massive of a loss, you know, to be able to go, you know, to be able to continue to victory. So that was important. But I think a big component of that is the fact that they have these coordinating headquarters now. They're really what we would call division level. But as General Kondratyuk pointed out to me, they're calling them corps headquarters because they adopted the Austrian organization for in terms of echelons. But that training that we saw, because when we saw it, they were briefing a brigade headquarters, you know, command and staff from a brigade. And I could tell you from my experience, that's the same training we get when we're getting ready to deploy a unit. So that's good news. And I think good news is more important to share than bad news. You don't want to get involved in that too much. All right, so anyway, besides that, there's many different things that I attended as the commander, but there's a couple of things that were kind of recurring things that we do. Like, for example, for Veterans Day, Memorial Day, St. Thomas Sunday, which I think they call something else now. What's that? Well, anyway, we have a service that we've always gotten the support from Metropolitan Anthony and from Archbishop Daniel, that we have a service at our monument. And even though we have a couple of New Jersey people like me that show up, Matt Koziak and his post always shows up. They always have the majority of the people. We've also had people from the Pennsylvania Post, the other Pennsylvania Post show up. So that is also an ongoing thing that we've been doing that I'm very proud that we've kept up with that. And here we are 10 years since the dedication, and we haven't luckily never missed a holiday. So I give everybody credit for that. It doesn't matter who it is. I mean, William George has been there, everybody's been there at some point or another. So thank you for that, and we're keeping that up. In the community, I attended some Veterans Day breakfasts, like in my local VFW from the town I live in. I had an interesting trip back in November. When I say November 2024, where I took another member of Post 6, who I think hasn't paid her dues. I'm gonna have to get her to pay. Martha Biscoop, she's my better half, and she's a Navy veteran. So is her daughter. I'm gonna try to get her to join. And we went all the way to Hamilton, Canada for a fundraiser by a individual that's been in contact with me for quite a few years. And he put together a Taras Bulba for support for Ukraine. And they've been sending out shipments. Canada, we know their army isn't that big, but again, we saw the instructors at Yavoriv. They have instructors in Grafenberg, probably at home, those too, for all we know. I don't really know that for a fact. But the Canadian government has been very generous in terms of, giving him airlift to send supplies to Ukraine. So I had a chance to drive all the way to Hamilton, Canada, which is quite a drive, and attend that back in November 2024. I also visited an initiative by Post 17 Commander Jim Fedorko. He has a Zoom group that he meets with like weekly, right, on Fridays. And they had what's his name? The guy who's doing the drones.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, anyway, they have a Dignitas, but the guy himself, anyway.
Dima Kavun.
What?
Dima Kavun.
Dima, yeah, Dima. They actually, we gave them a donation, once or twice, but that youth group put together drones to send to Ukraine. And Dima was one of the guys that has been involved with that. I think they were reconnaissance drones, but it doesn't matter. It was pretty impressive. And at the same time, and again, I'm bringing this up because it's important to know that we do have future generations that are helping as well. And I ran into Jim's son. Jim's son is currently deployed overseas, and we're waiting for him to come back. He's with an engineering group. I saw that in the journal. Nazad, right? Nazad Fedorko. And it made me feel good because my son came back when he was in war in Michigan. He had just gotten back from his first overseas deployment. So we do have that next generation that we can start tapping into. And we'll see. I think the more we're active and out there, the more we're going to get their attention. Because in war in Michigan, which you guys did a great job, my son ran into two other members from Post 101 that were like pretty much the same age as him. And I think he stayed in contact with them. So we have that potential. We just have to use it. Anyway, we also went to the Haldor Memorial Service, which we've been doing every year at St. Patrick's Cathedral. And what's important with that is, I think it's coming up again in November. 22nd, right? Yeah, we have to make sure that we have at least, half a dozen people there, because that always makes a very good impression, because the first time they invited us, I remember standing up and saying, if you're gonna invite us, we don't go like second or third echelon, we lead the march. They're not having a march this year. What's that? No, they're not. But what we do is we do lead into the service with the veterans, and we do get a front row seat after we post the colors. So it's very important that the people see us there. And again, I give kudos to all of those like Nick, like Ehud, besides other people. Andriy Hatzavich has participated, Jim Fedorko participated in the march. We have a lot of people that make it up. If you can't make it every year, that's not what's important. What's important is that the Ukrainian American veterans make it every year. So again, we did that back in the 23rd November, 2024. We went over some audits. I went to a Pearl Harbor commemoration at my local VFW post, color guard for Oh, yeah, this is an interest, again, I'm going into some more detail there's a reason for this, method to my madness. So we had the 10th annual Ukrainian Heritage Night at the New Jersey Devils in Newark, New Jersey. But what's important is that besides the fact that we're the color guard for that, is we get to nominate the hero of the day. One of them is Walter Stepaniak, past hero of the day. I got the honor of being hero of the day, and I forgot who else here has been hero of the day. But this last year, what's that? No, anyway, this last year, it was important for us because we nominated a retired Major Petra Sada, who I know from Plost.
Now that you're talking about what we did, I think to bring this up. Laying the wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier.
Yes, that was another activity that we did.
Done that once already. And a few of you gentlemen came up to me during the year where I said, wow, that would be nice if we do this every year. Yes, it would be very nice. Now we can post 26, barely hang around at 2 cents financially. To buy the wreath, you have to buy the wreath. Army will pick it up and lay it, and I'll get it there. And they're willing to work with us. There are a bunch of nice guys there, who briefed us, before us, lay the wreath.
Yes, and by the way, that was part of an initiative, Walter, that was started by Matt Koziak when he was the national commander, where the Ukrainian American Veterans participate in a Veterans Day ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery. And we've been able to keep that up. I know one year William Jajda did it, Walter's been involved, Yada's been involved, Monsky's been involved. So, yeah, we have a couple people that have been involved.
So, I recommend that you guys talk to your posts and pick a day where your posts want to do it. We will help. If you need more people to hang around, if the team put you on the service, we'll be there. So think about it. Think about it. Is there a particular day that this is done? Is that this at the same ceremony that the color guard in November? There are, or is it two ceremonies, Veterans Day, when the president comes out and does it. There are a couple unknowns, like our president, the Ukrainian president, he later leave. And all dates are clear for that, so we don't know that. But they will work with you to pick a date. Like the Ukrainian Veterans Day, well, no day at all for that. Okay, they will work with you. There are some rules that you have to follow. Like number one, don't be late. If they say 10 o'clock, they don't need 10:01. They mark it out right on time. And because the reason I bring that up is because I know on Veterans Day, when we used to go there were like 100 organizations doing it. It's almost impossible to get a slot for that. That's why I'm bringing that up now. Yeah. So it's good that you mentioned that there are other opportunities where we can do this. Yes.
Matt, what you probably can do, and we've tried to do it before with the embassy to kind of urge them on to lay it during the Ukrainian Armed Forces Day in August. And we did it one time, the UAV did it, and we laid a wreath, but the embassy did not really participate. They were in the background present, but they did not lay the wreath. And I think because it was the optics that were involved with it, so they declined to, participate.
They didn't want it to be a political event. They wanted it to be a veterans event. And we actually, we agreed with that. And Yada was there. By the way, Yada has been instrumental in another way that everybody has to know their strengths and weaknesses. In several different occasions, Yada brought a coin that I could present to somebody because I didn't bring my own coin. So that's something we have to fix too, but I appreciate what you did, Yara,
And
on many occasions, not just once.
I
So,
think it was you and past Commander Ivo Rutko that laid the wreath there for the,
yes. And the embassy did attend, but again, they felt this is a military cemetery. It's a military, event, so it should be done by the veterans, not by not that a politician, but not by the ambassador or one of the ambassador's people. But we should keep everybody informed if another occasion does present itself. I agree with you, Walter. You're right.
The main thing is, there's two types of wreath laying ceremonies. One is with a politician, like we invited the ambassador. That involves added security, entrance into the cemetery and escort them out. And that's a little more involved. Then there's the American citizen type. That we come in, we can only lay the wreath and we're out of there. No added security. So, like the last one we did with the ambassador, she was kind enough to step back and let the veterans do our wreath laying. She did not, and the president was fine, but she let us do our thing without them doing, in any way. So, she's gone now, thankfully. But keep that in mind, easy to do, but you gotta follow their rules. And they're on the clock. You can't bring any flags. You can't bring any colored doors or weapons. You gotta be in time. Is the cost, Walter? Don, do you remember what the cost of the wreath was?
it depends on the size of the wreath you get. The one we laid, I think, was somewhere around $350 to $400. And that was, I think, I want to say it was a 36-inch wreath. They have smaller ones, but again, you know.
Yellow flowers. Ukrainian American Veterans, whatever. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, no, it was impressive. And Walter Stepaniak was the guy that coordinated that,
Yep.
right?
He did all the heavy lifting in coordination with the old guard.
Yeah, because the old guard is in charge of that. That's not the cemetery. Another important event.
Could I just add something to that? While we're talking about wreath laying, I think that the old post number 4 was probably one of the first posts in our organization to lay the wreath in Arlington. And at that time, it was assisted by then, I guess, Captain Kondrachuk. So you could.
So
think
you were
it
a
goes
captain
back well.
once, huh, gentlemen?
And this was done on the first Saturday after the Vietnam unknown was installed. You could confirm that probably.
It was about that time.
Yeah,
you're right.
so what happens is the old post 4 used to have bus trips to DC, to West Point, to the Naval Academy, here, there. And we did that with his assistance. And we laid that wreath. Of course, you all know that the unknown is now known, and I think it was uninterred, right?
The Vietnam one.
The Vietnam, that's what I meant, yeah. So anyway, that was one piece from our history that I have duly noted in our historic files.
I read about this ceremony in Ukrainian Weekly.
Yeah.
And I showed up, I didn't know anything about the Ukrainian American Veterans, and lo and behold, I was the speaker in 1986 for the rest of it. As I said, it's history.
Yeah.
I know what.
Congratulations, yeah, I'll tell you what, when I was in Iraq, I asked my Ukrainian Weekly subscription to send stuff out to me. And that's when Anna Kravchuk also wrote an article about the Ukrainian American Veterans. Because I actually always thought that while you're active, you don't join a veterans organization. I always thought you had to wait until you either retired or separated from the service. And that was the reason I joined, and then I got Marta Biskup to join. But again, you're right, General Kravchuk. Finding out about the organization is important too, so.
Thing is, we was here on the wreath. I know when the Ukrainian president laid his wreath, when he got done with that, they walked him around the cemetery to 5 grave sites. during the wars.
Yes.
Ukrainian veterans that are buried there. And one of them was my brother, I mean, volunteers.
Yeah, Special Forces, Vietnam veteran.
So this is what they do, and it's really easy, if you work with them, they'll work with you.
Yeah, the thing to keep in mind with the Ukrainian embassy, what's that? Yep. No, what's interesting with the Ukrainian embassy is they called me out of nowhere and they said, oh, by the way, the president's gonna be around, President Zelensky's gonna be around, and he wants to visit a couple of Brit. I only knew, like, off the top of my head, 5 of them, but it happened to be Walter's brother was one of the ones that I knew about. But that doesn't matter, it happened, so I guess sometimes what we have to do is just stay on our toes. Another important event that we had was World War II veteran, Jonas Savage's father. We attended his wake together with the 2 posts from Pennsylvania on the 10th of December, 2024. So we keep your father's memory eternal.
It's very nice. You guys did a good showing. I think there were a dozen veterans
Yeah,
there,
there was,
maybe
yeah, it was a
more.
good dozen, maybe even a little bit more.
Mhm.
And that was,
When you're finished.
okay, but that was important because again, Petras father was a Vietnam veteran. He was hero of the day. Your father was a World War II veteran. I remember that you brought your father to the convention before that, right? So that's important that we always honor our veterans. Again, the ones that are currently serving, but also the ones that passed away.
Point of order, I was the director of military veterans records for Massachusetts for many years, and I'd like to point this out to everybody. The vast majority of the servicemen and women buried at Arlington were never veterans. There were service members who died in service, not as veterans, they get a DD 214. I want you to keep that in mind, explain the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day, okay? Not veterans buried, the vast majority were never veterans. They were soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines.
That were currently serving, correct. Thank you, Jonathan. Yada?
Okay, we're talking about filing on. Well, first, I wanted to thank the 3 gentlemen who were talking about placing the wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. Thank you very much for that. That spawned an idea in Washington, which we're fortunate that we have Arlington National Cemetery, where we have something like 45 Ukrainians, not veterans, but Ukrainians in the military buried there. We found out on the first instance that we tried this, that we used 2 flags, one Ukrainian, one American. We found out very, very soon, Yaya Kaczmarska, the daughter of Boris Kaczmarski, wrote us a little letter saying that she was specifically told by the people at Arlington that no other flag other than the US flag may be placed on any grave at Arlington National Cemetery. So our flags were placed on the, I think, 28th or 29th of I think it was October, and by the 31st of October, the cleaning crew came in and removed everything. So they were gone, and we never tried that again. So we substituted, since the people who were commemorating are Ukrainian, we used the sunflower, and we engaged Plus and Sum. We did this 2 different occasions. First time was a small scale, about 8 or 9 graves, and the second time was like 20 graves. We have maps of where all of our Ukrainian friends are buried, and we dispense them to like 1 map per child or a group of kids. And they and they go in that direction, find the grave, place the sunflower on top of the gravestone, take a photograph of themselves at that spot, and bring it back.
As parents of those young ones have an adult with them. I mean, nothing to do with young weeks, but
Please continue.
no, I want to put this in grandparents.
I'm lost with your explanation.
No,
I think what we're saying is that there's adult supervision and the child is not allowed to run to the cemetery.
Okay, so the kids are not.
another?
However, it is interesting that on Veterans Day, we march with your colors. So when we march, it's the American flag and the UAV flag. I remember coming back from one event and somebody coming up to me at our church and said, Joe Scott said, Matt, I saw the Ukrainian American Veterans. It just so happened that at that particular moment on TV, they did capture. It's always very good advertising.
I saw that, C-SPAN.
Correct.
I saw that too, man. I did
Did
see
you see
that.
the other one?
Yeah, and then we had the other,
Picture in a raincoat with my head down. What is this veteran thinking? I know what I'm thinking. This is miserable.
it's part, we used to always say, it ain't training if it ain't raining. Almost every time we did gun raining, it would start raining at some point. Anyway, another annual event that I attended together with Post 26 and some other members is commemorating the large-scale invasion on 22 February 2025 at the Lincoln Memorial, and then later marching all the way over to past the White House to the residence of the Russian ambassador. And again, we also got a certain amount of exposure there, but it was really heartening to see that we were part of the, we marched with the people commemorating that. And that was 22 February 2025. And we had members that attended also Ukraine Security Dialogue, some virtually, some in person. Again, Post 26 members, Yaroslav Martinyuk, the commander, Yado Ershkavich, National Adjutant Mark Dotsky was there, also our Judge Advocate, Bogdan Hitmansky. So we, the other thing, we attended with the Connecticut contingent. We had a virtual meeting with Congressman Joe Courtney. He's the 2nd District in Connecticut to, again, keep up the support that Ukraine is getting. And that was with Post 33 Commander Carl Harvey, Immediate Past National Commander Yehuda Rechkov, and Service Officer from Post 33, Miriam Mendik. But again, it's important to show these are things we're doing. So we want people to know that there are Ukrainian American veterans out and about. I don't want to go through everything, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of things that I thought was important. We also met, all right, the one with Courtney, Congressman Courtney, was 6 March. The one with, we had another one with Rosa DeLauro, the 3rd District in Connecticut. That was the 4th of April. We had the Ukrainian Action Summit attended by Bogdan Hitmansky, the Adjutant Mark Dotsky, Post 26 Commander Yado Ershkavich, and members Oscar Museichuk, Yaroslav Martinyuk, and that was in Washington on the 7th to the 9th of April of 2025. Again, very important because that kind of support is what people see. That's positive. It's not partisan. It's not one candidate against another. It's support for Ukraine in Washington, where again, the most important power under the Constitution, I teach this as business law, is the power of the purse. Our legislative branch, they're the ones that get to the appropriate money and spend money. So they're the ones that we have to convince, keep supporting Ukraine. All right, the next one we have is
Lunch.
yeah, we just have to wait till 12:45. So we had St. Thomas Sunday service here. Again, well attended. The adjutant was here, so was William Josta, the vice commander from New York. Ed Zedek was there. We had Vice Commander Andrew Hidzavich, Zenon Holkovich, and then we had 2 other members from Post 42, and I just forgot their names. But the fact is we have good attendance, and people see us out and about, and And again, they understand that that monument is something that was an initiative by us, but it honors all Ukrainian American veterans, both serving and those that are deceased. And we're gonna have a service tomorrow for that. Then we also had the Memorial Day service, also well attended. The then again, I have referred to this several times, but I think it was very important because we had short notice. First Sergeant Navralki's funeral at Arlington National Cemetery on the 3rd of July. We had also the reception to the new incoming ambassador to the permanent mission of the United Nations for, the Ukrainian permanent mission to the United Nations, Andriy Magnik. What's good is he's from Western Ukraine, so we can understand he's Ukrainian. He was also a very receptive because at that point we invited him in person to our convention, and he will be attending tomorrow. So again, I think it's very good for us to have that kind of a liaison because he's very positive. He understands who we are. We're veterans, and we want to support Ukraine. We also had the color guard that we've been doing annually at Suyazilka. And you guys that are out there that have been there for a couple of years now in a row, I'm very happy about that. That was on the 12th of July at Suyazilka in Carhonson, New York. Of course, William Josda was there, Ehud Rudka, Michael Volk, Walter Kubasnyuk. And then I think we had one or two other guys there. I just couldn't remember all the names.
That's on YouTube. That's where I watched the guy.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, that was, I'll tell you what, they've been very also, because originally what happened was they had an initial opening ceremony, but nobody attended it until they shifted us to the later one that is before the program, and then you have everybody there. So that was actually, I thought, a pretty positive thing. And really the veterans make a very positive impression, and because they do the color guard. And then, of course, both anthems are sung. I think one year they also sang the Canadian anthem, which that's up to them. But that was also a positive thing. And like General Kondratyuk said, again, a little bit of exposure there. So we also had the commemoration of Ukrainian Independence Day. Post 26 was point on that. We got a chance, when I say we, besides Yaro Orishkevich, the post commander, Yuri Dechaikovsky, Yaroslav Martinyuk, our judge advocate, Bogdan Hitmansky, Mark, the adjutant, Mark Datskovsky, and I also attended. That was in front of the White House. And then after that, we moved over to Shevchenko Monument, and there was a program there. Unfortunately, I mean, it ran kind of late, so of course, that was one of those midnight return to home station, whatever you want to call it, home. But that was also a very positive thing. It was also different than other White House, but it was still Ukrainian Independence Day. Ukraine declared independence originally in 1991 on the 24th of August, and that was 2025. So that's a pretty good run. And we hope that there's going to be many more to celebrate. And then we have at the Ukrainian Institute in New York, a commemoration of Ukrainian Independence Day, which Mark Datskovsky and I attended. But we also had that was also sponsored by the permanent mission, Ukrainian's permanent mission to the United Nations by Andriy Magnik. And that was on the 4th of September. But actually, right before that, on the 27th of August, an initiative by Post 17, Jim Fedorko and Zenko Holkovich were commemorated at the Bergen County. It was the county seat for Bergen County. The executive, I think this is the 3rd year or 4th year in a row that he's been commemorating Ukrainian Independence Day. And Mark and I showed up, Mark Datskovsky and I showed up. But again, the award recipients were Jim Fedorko and Zenko Holkovich. So I wanted to give them credit for that. That was on the 24th of August. And then that pretty much wraps up most of what we've done. But what's important is that we do have the different posts, some of which, like, I'm not reporting because I wasn't there, but that doesn't mean there aren't other posts like Chicago, like 42, like 24. I mean, they're all doing things. So I think one of the things I'd like to get out of this convention is to share more information so the other posts know what they're doing too. Let's share, let's be proud of who we are, let's stand tall. And subject to any questions, that's my report. Thank you. Next, we have.
We need to make a motion to accept the commander's report.
No.
They're all done overall. No, the commander's report. It's acknowledged separate.
Look at point number 9 on the agenda. The bottom of the page.
Well, yeah, what we tried to do, again, Robert's Rules of Order, we can, since it's a non-financial report, we can wait to the end. But if there is any other further discussion, we can wait till the end of the activity reports and if anybody has any more questions. So the next, activity-
Wait, 12:45, you want to break for lunch right now, then do it after?
Oh, I thought lunch was only
11:45.
12:45.
I'm sorry,
Get it out.
11:45. Is that 12:45? My mistake, sorry.
Yeah, no.
Space and timing.
We could take a break for 10 minutes if people would like that. So let's take a break.
Let's keep going.
All right, next activity report is our Vice Commander, Norman McCool.
Yeah, they were emailed out, short and sweet. We've gone from a Zoom call every quarter to a Zoom call every 2 months until the membership says, hey, let's do it once a month, and we'll do it once a month, not a big deal. On the Zoom calls, very often we'll have Mimo, we'll have the judge advocate. I'm on it. Since I'm in there, we have a couple people that come on that aren't even males anymore, but they still pop in. We're getting the membership roster. There's still a couple posts that I haven't been able to get anything out of. And I keep complaining to the state commander about that, but we're getting that cleaned up and worked on. And that's basically it for mine. You want me to do the, what you call, while I'm up here, or come up later? Okay. On the registration project. One thing I just noticed in the journal and on the webpage, that on the address, there's no number on the post office box. That number is 143. We'll get that corrected on the website. It just says PO box.
That's funny.
Mistake was made. We'll clear that up. It's been changed a little bit. We're still trying the continuing saga of trying to get the registration project records. We still don't have them. And I'm going to ask that the posts, whatever they have in the way of DD 214s, if they can send me a copy, please, when you're making the copy, please cover the serial number and the social security number. I do not need those. As we try to rebuild it, when we get it, I'm just going to have to see what I have versus what's added to it, and we'll take it from there. You seem confused.
Oh, listen,
Okay. Yes, sir.
I have a question, Robert. What is gonna be done with the registration project, and how is it gonna be different and what we had prior and all the issues that came up with the, call it the old registration project as opposed to our new registration?
Well, one of the things that's not planned is to actually sit there and print out, 2,000 copies of a book. We can do a registration project book, but it can be on-demand publishing. If someone wants it, they go right online It's printed. If we're doing an addition to it, we can do an addition to it at any time. And it saves us money since we don't have to have 2,000 copies that we're not trying to sell. It's also been brought up if we can have a searchable database as part of our website. That would require trimming down a lot of the information to where we can have the person's name and, let's say, branch of service that they were in, but a lot of information would get clipped out of that. And that's doable. I've talked with Joe Nasevich about how he would need that data, but exactly which data, that's still gonna be circulated among, judge advocate, myself, commander, Joe, and I'll even bring it up with the NED before we do it. So this way here, everybody's got input on what we put in there and what we don't put in there.
And when is the approximate date when we're gonna have something up on our website?
Well, at the moment, I've got, my whole list has got maybe about 25 names on it. I gotta rebuild it because I'm not getting, we haven't been able to get anything from the previous registration project also. And I don't want her database, I want the raw material. So this way here, I can get all the information for us internally, and then we can figure out where we go from there to be externally shareable. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
About 2 or 3 conventions ago, this topic came up. The printing of an updated book with all the registration information, and we voted in the budget, I think $2,000. So, that's still in existence.
Yeah, but
I mean,
I understand, but I don't see us having 3 cases of books here that we're trying to peddle.
it also could be the setup of the database, get it updated.
Yeah, my biggest thing is getting all the data together so that we can proceed forward, because we haven't been able to get it yet. We're still trying.
I understand. I'm just trying to get that back up.
Can I make a suggestion here?
Hold on a second.
$2,000. I think we're saying we should use that to get your new version up and running. Since obviously we're not gonna give it to the former registration project manager who we're having issues with.
Yeah, but I need, before we do anything, I need data anyway. So I'm gonna actually send a letter to every,
25 people that you have.
pardon?
Start with the 25 people that you have. This is how it builds. Once you put it up and people start seeing names, you're gonna understand that we have something that we're doing. If it's not out there, nobody knows it exists. That's what happened with the last registration thing. We put out a book and that was the end of it. And there was supposed to be a second book, which never went out, and nobody knows about it. I have people in my church who aren't even members of our post who come up to me repeatedly and say, what happened to that registration form I gave you? And all I can tell them is, we're having problems.
It went into the hole in Homedale.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion? All the post commanders should have a roster of your veteran personnel that belong to your post. At a minimum, it should have the person's name, what service they were in, their service dates. You don't need date of birth, you don't need SSN, you don't need anything PII related. Because you want to keep it as vanilla as possible, because nowadays with the identity theft, don't want to put too much out there that somebody can piece together and then you find out that they're raiding your bank account with the additional information they received. So that would be my suggestion.
And the other thing that I want is, yeah,
Exactly my point.
the other thing that I want is the reason for the 214s, any awards that they received. If the guy's got a silver star, I'd like to be able to say that, Maxim Holopupenko, who ended up being a corporal in the US Army, received the silver star to recognize, their valor medal. Yes, sir.
Can you just send out some kind of file that we can enter online with the exact information that you want, rather than sending you a copy of the 214?
I could do that.
If you standardize that form and send it to all the post commanders, and then,
Well, some post commanders have difficulty with Excel.
Information and send it out.
Well, a couple of years ago, Raman proposed that, we de-emphasize the 8214. The reason is American Legion VFW that I know of have done that. Now, however, I know in the VFW, if you become an officer, you do have to produce a DD 214 just to confirm, that you were a service member.
But a lot of the posts still require, they want to see a 214, so a lot of the posts do have
Yeah.
a 214. Yes, Nick?
Yeah, new members, are they like automatically registered for the project?
No, they're supposed to
Something like
register
that
for the
goes-
project.
Huh?
They're supposed to register for the project.
Right, because I have the old form, and I have a couple of people that I want to give them the form, but it has, like Anna's address.
I'll give you copies today of the new form,
Yeah,
which
and
even
if
have the
you can
PO box
email
on.
it, to us, so we can use the
Yeah.
new form, make sure that the registration.
I'll hand them to you.
goes To the right place.
Yeah.
Page 67.
Yeah, but,
67.
uh,
Okay.
yeah, but what's the PO box on? Yeah. But I'll give you some printed out ones I have.
Yeah, look, we've belabored this topic and we decided, let's move forward because the other day I was at a VA appointment. Who did I run into? Anna Krumchuk and her son. She's using a walker. I didn't even have the heart to bring it up anymore because every time in the last 8 years I've had a conversation with her, she's told me why she can't do this and why. For whatever reason, it's not important anymore. We can regenerate.
And when we get it, I'll put the two, I'll update the database with what I get. But like I said, I don't want her database, I want the actual documents. So this way here, I can get the stuff like the Valor, the medals, the Valor medals that they've received. If the guy got a Silver Star, I'd like to recognize him for the Silver Star. Yes,
I
sir.
like someone's suggestion, if you put together this database and send it out to the commanders, let the commanders do the inputting of their people.
Yeah, that was Andres.
Because even in my post, maybe 10 or 12 individuals, for whatever reason, can't locate their DD 214,
Okay.
okay? And the ones that I do have on file are primarily used as a backup, because when they pass away and they want honors burial, their family can't seem to locate it.
Correct.
So they call the commands, and I produce it to the funeral home so they can get honors burial.
Yeah, and by the way, that's a very important prerequisite for that, yes.
Yeah, but the one thing, like, when we've had, just to sidestep a hair, from the 3 times that we've had VA cemeteries here, all of us are getting on in years. And if you're planning on being buried at a military cemetery and getting all that stuff, you can actually pre-file the form. It takes 6 to 9 months for them to process it, so everything is already done. And you just give that to the funeral home. The VA's got everything ready. The only thing that the VA hasn't done is assign you an actual lot at the cemetery.
That's if you're gonna do the national cemetery. A lot of these individuals do private cemeteries, and they still want the honors burial.
Yeah, the military honors, which is appropriate.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Why can't we use the existing booklet as a basis to start?
Well, I've got one somewhere that I haven't unpacked yet. And I'll scan that and, to get that information in. But that list is rather weak on who's got, all it mentions is if anybody got a Purple Heart.
But it's the beginning.
Yeah.
We have periods of service.
Yeah, we're trying to move on because we've been stuck now for
Long time.
probably at least 8 years. And let's move on and Charlie Mike, continue the mission. So that's really what our intent is.
Yeah.
And Roman has retired in the meantime and has the time to dedicate to it. And anybody else that wants to help, we're actually very happy to get people to help. But we do think that if we get that back on track, that's an important, not just a recruiting tool, it's an important legacy for us. Because it's really to prove to the US citizens, whatever, politicians, congressional, whatever. These are Ukrainians that, I mean, look at, General Yaskilka. That was our first four-star general, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Marine Corps, he participated.
Commandant.
He became the assistant commandant of the Marine Corps. I think he was a war veteran of 3 wars, right? And he's buried in Arlington National Cemetery, and he's a Ukrainian American veteran. General Krautsia, we went to his funeral. Andriy Savage was there. I was there. I forgot who else was there. He's Matt Kosiak. No, what was important is he was class of 1959, United States Military Academy, and he got a special spot in the front of the cemetery at the Military Academy. He's a Ukrainian American veteran that really, he was a trailblazer in many respects.
Yes.
So again, we should give our fellow Ukrainian American veterans every honor, every accolade that they deserve. So I think this is a great initiative.
But that was a good idea. I'll get those out.
Yes, I sent texts which were received and read by Anna Kravchuk 3 times. I have them on my phone, and she did not answer them, but she did read them. And I wanted to ask Jim Fedorko, is he back there? Jim?
No, he's still.
Oh, he's- Well, did Tanya Kravchuk register for the banquet? Is she coming to the celebration? Do we know? Did she send an ad in? I didn't see anything. Bogdan, did she send an ad in? I didn't see it.
No.
All right, is there any other discussion on the Vice Commander's activity report? We can also have it at the end, like I said. The next, we have the Judge Advocate, Bogdan Hibansky.
I'm not gonna, well, most of my topics are the same ones that our national commander has mentioned, so I'll just briefly go through the dialogue for 1 and 2 that I'll elaborate on. Again, Raleigh had to commemorate the 3rd anniversary of the invasion of Ukraine, attended that. Security Dialogue Conference, that was number 27, February. I attended that also, along with other members. Rally in support of Ukrainian White House, rally in support of the Ukrainian Memorial, 6 April 2025. Visit to the office of Congressman Steny Hoyer. That was part of the Ukrainian Action Summit. And as I mentioned before, anybody that signs up for that has to realize that they're only going to be going to their congressional district or their senator to talk to them. And the group controls that very, very closely. They don't want you deviating out of their proposed, guidance and going elsewhere. And they also give you the talking points also. So if you try to come up there with different talking points, they don't want to hear it. We also did the Memorial Day, Arlington Day National Cemetery with a color guard procession. It was myself and Dr. Yaro Arashkevich were there. We also attended a funeral of one of our past members, Colonel Ihor Kotlachuk. I attended the St. Gabriel's Institute, which is a new institute established by Bishop Guziak. And basically, that's to bring in people from Ukraine and elsewhere to attend basically it's like a graduate session where they try to develop Ukrainian diplomats from the lay people so that they can go out and integrate and basically have discourses with various politicians and members of Congress, as well as other national and international politicians and diplomats to preach the Ukrainian Catholic, basically our church to the world. And that's about it as far as Ukraine Days on June 11th and 12th, 2025, with Mark Daskiewski, and Ukrainian Independence Day. So it's all written there. I don't like to read from it, but you can ask any questions from that you have. That concludes my little presentation.
Thank you, Don. Next, we have Chaplain, which has been excused, he has to take care of his father. Publications Officer, we're done doing the story. Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
My glasses?
Yeah. And that wasn't on purpose, that was it.
That's okay, I'll be very lengthy.
Payback.
All right, Good afternoon. Yeah. Look, I have about 15 or so hard copies, but everybody who is on the national board, I've got their emails. Anybody else wants it sent by email electronically, I'm gonna do it, as long as you give me your email, all right? Today, I'll get it out to you later today then. So, bullet points. No new archival materials were received from posts. Everything that we do, I try to keep in historical records anyway, like minutes and so on and so forth. I keep the tribunes, I keep well, just about everything, maybe too much. So that's a report on my activity under the hat of a historian. With respect to our post, this is normal every year. We on Memorial Day, we do go to 2 cemeteries where there are flags that are placed on graves, and clergy, rifle volleys. We have an electronic trumpet or bugle, and it's very impressive. A lot of parishioners come to the cemeteries. For the past 3 years, Post 1 has been marching with a lot of Ukrainian groups in the Glenside, Pennsylvania. That's a close-in suburb of Philadelphia. Parade, 121st, I believe, was the last one that we were in. It's about 1.5 miles, and being July 4th, it's a challenge sometimes. Both Post 1 and Post 42, I always share information about our brethren in Lehigh Valley, participated in this memorial service in Sellersville, Pennsylvania. You heard about First Sergeant Navratsky, and when he was interred there in Arlington.
Yeah, can you speak up a little?
Yes, I could.
To a little.
All right, well, just turn up the volume there, Matt, that's all.
Command voice, come on, command.
All right,
voice.
well, listen, at the Arlington Cemetery observance for Sergeant Navratsky, one of our members was also there, although I'm not sure he went and met the commander and others that were there, but Andrew Passon was there. And he had occasion to meet the mother of another American who was killed fighting for Ukraine. And he met up with her, and this information was basically also shared with Matt Koziak in Post 42. So his body was never recovered because it was hit with a mortar round. Or I have to rely on the information I get from Andrew Passon, the person that was there, and went on to help with the arrangements for this event in Sellersville.
Right.
So I was traveling that weekend.
Yeah, but Angelo was the young man's name.
Yes, I have it.
Ukrainian.
He was not Ukrainian. He was a 23-year-old American. He was a first responder. And he was over there and he volunteered and was killed. So Andrew met the mother, and that's how some arrangements were started to be made. It was a wonderful event. Again, I was not there, but I'm sure Matt can speak to this. And members from our post, his post, were there also. And it was very nice. I know our post contributed some money to the family for help. Some of the sisterhood at St. Vladimir's provided some food. Some tents were erected, but it was a very touching and moving event. So I'm told Congressman Fitzpatrick was there, Bucks County representative. And I just wanted to be, make it clear that these are some of the activities that we as veterans should do. I checked with our national commander, saying, well, she would like to have formal, ceremony. Commander says, yes, he was killed in combat, even though he was an American veteran. And so that was carried on by the vets that were there from 42 and some for one. That's it for that. Maybe Matt can add to it, but let me just finish at 2 points. Also, both of our posts, we do a lot of things together because, especially like Trizov, it's sort of equidistant from our post in Jenkintown and their post up in Allentown area, Lehigh Valley. So we participated in Trizov's Independence Day ceremonies on August 24th. This year was August 24th. Flag raising, most of the guys from Post 42 did the flag raising. The rest of us were watching. Then, prior to that, 2 days before that, there was a flag raising in Philadelphia at City Hall. So we were down there and we helped to raise the Ukrainian flag with the assistance of some wounded Ukrainian combat veterans over there that were here. And I think that's probably all you really need to know. And Matt, do you want to add anything to Petrangelo's event?
Well,
There were a couple hundred people there,
Gave the mother a
right?
coin, and she was very impressed
Yeah.
with the number of Ukrainian veterans that showed up. And your post member actually came up with some firearms, and they had a gun salute. It was a very impressive event, and the whole family was very appreciative to see the Ukrainian vets. And then later on, that at Trezzy, which is outside of Philadelphia, they also did a second ceremony for Nogrotsky and Pietrangelo. And again, our two folks were present for that. So.
And their families were there, right? Yeah.
Both families were there. Again, the families were very appreciative to see the Ukrainian Americans.
Any other questions? I don't have anything.
People that leave here to go fight in Ukraine, is that somehow tracked of how many are deceased? Are those the only two, or?
There's about 92 of them that are deceased from the last publications in various news.
Send you one by email electronically.
These are just U.S. veterans that have gone to Ukraine to fight.
In that case, he wasn't even a U.S. veteran.
No. And the other article I read recently was there was about 1,000 plus U.S. veterans over there fighting in Ukraine on some foreign legions or whatever aspect.
Something were deceased. I got killed in action.
No, only 92 to date that I'm aware of. That's just a general number.
I'm not looking to create a problem. However, you think it would be appropriate that, like, at a convention where we could recognize those people and tell the families that we appreciate what they've done and how it's recognized in such and such convention?
If you can obtain the listing of all those U.S.
Well,
veterans.
those that we have anyway.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about 2 current.
Right.
And that's from individuals, but that would be an acknowledgement from our entire organization. And especially in lieu of the fact that we're doing it on the 10th anniversary of the monument. Tie that in. I think it would just be nice.
I think that would fall under new business.
Okay, but 1 second. What the Brits do is, I believe they read off the names of their deceased members at one of the memorial services, and that could be done here. That's the intent.
It should be under new business.
Okay.
We have resolutions that one of the subjects. I think it's appropriate, what Mike saying, it's appropriate for us to have that as one of our resolutions, and we appreciate all of these people who went to fight for Ukraine. And when we publish these resolutions, everybody will see it. And then if we find out about somebody, we can always send it. This is a resolution from the whole body of the convention. That what you had in mind, Mike?
Yes, something like that, whether it's a certificate or just a general acknowledgement, whatever.
No, it's giving recognition, especially, let's face it, the Russo-Ukrainian War really started 11 years ago. So this has been ongoing now for a while. The large-scale invasion soon is going to be a 4-year anniversary in February. So the more we get involved with giving that proper honor and recognition, the better off we are. All right, next we have Publication Officer Bogdan Dudas.
Yes. As unaccustomed as I am to public speaking. Just wanted to point a couple of things out. Commander mentioned we have, different varieties, from old timers to newbies. I just wanted to point out, yesterday I noticed there was a newbie, somebody named Tim, walking around introducing himself to everybody. And that was laudable. That's a good thing that he was doing that, because, he should be. And I saw that he approached Roman McCook and introduced himself and asked what city or state Roman came from. He said Florida. Ah, Tim said Florida, the Sunshine State. How nice. Everybody know that, the Sunshine State? Then he spoke to our new adjutant, Mark Daskiewski, who told him that he's from Newark. Many of you may not know, Newark used to be known as the Brick City. Right, absolutely. So I'm speaking the truth here, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then, when he talked to Ed Zedek said he's from Philadelphia. He said, city of brotherly love. Absolutely. Then he stepped up to me and I said, what the hell do you want? He said, oh, you're from Chicago. Right, Tim? Say yes.
Your banner's down.
Speaking of Mark, excuse me, by now you know that he was appointed adjutant this year. And if you read the Tribune, there's an article in there about his background, a very lengthy bio, which tells you almost everything about Mark. But I'm here to fill in the one detail that was missing. A long time ago, when he was born, his father, by the way, his name is Bogdan also, went to a tavern. And at the tavern, he walked up to the bartender and said, I want to buy the house a drink. Bartender said, really? What's the occasion? He said, my wife just gave birth to a big baby boy. He said, really? How big is he? 25 pounds. He said, 25-pound baby boy. That's amazing. You call Guinness or somebody? He said, no, it just happened today. He said, wow, let me buy another round of drinks. So I gave everybody a round of drinks and he was being congratulated. And everybody said that, boy, he's a big boy. He said, not only that, he's going to grow up to be a big man. I said, really? I don't know what to say. It's amazing. So he went home, took care of the big boy and his wife, and he returned in about 3 weeks. And bartender saw him again. He said, well, how's everything? Wonderful. Great. I keep saying he's going to be a big man someday. He said, oh, glad to hear it. Somebody walked up to him and said, well, what does he weigh today? He was 25 pounds. He said, oh, about 16 pounds. Wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. He weighed 25, now he's 16 pounds? What happened? He said, well, we had him circumcised.
But he's still a big man, okay? And if you don't believe it, he volunteered to take in the other room and prove it, but that's okay. Am I lying here? No, I'm not. In either case. Just want to tell you, it's been my honor to be your publicity officer for the last 10 years, going on 11. And it was personally very rewarding. But my activities are the easiest to report to you, because all I have to do is hold this up, right? And give you an idea, this is my 10th journal. Next month, or the next couple of months, will be the 20th Tribune that I put out. That amounts to about 500 pages and hundreds of pictures in the Tribune. And not probably in the journal, about 500 pages, if you take that 10 years. And in the journal, the Tribune, there's hundreds of pictures and over 300 stories and articles that were put in there. So.
You made up.
Pardon me?
You made up.
I made up half of them and yours were pure fiction. Don't believe a thing of, except for the part that you've got to believe is that I like Roman, and I like telling the truth about him. He's been walking around this year saying that he met a girl, a young woman, and said to him that she wanted to be with someone and understand it would be friends with benefits. And he was celebrating the fact that he thought that she owned a liquor store. You shouldn't laugh so hard. I'm not done with you. But, you know, the one he's not here, you're gonna miss out. You can tell him that Jim Fedorko, okay, he's been boasting that this has been a new experience hosting a convention like this. And he said, I have learned. I said, what did you learn? I said, I have learned the most important thing I've ever learned. I've learned how to make any girl say yes. I said, really? What do you say to her? He says, well, I walk up to her and I ask her, am I bothering you? That's the dog. And of course, I don't know if you knew, but our commander, you know, he went through some medical issues this last year, but he's doing okay now. Except he recovered and he became longer-winded, you know what I mean? But the one thing that the doctor did after he gave him a clean bill of health, he said, in no uncertain terms, he pointed his finger, said, you have to watch your drinking. And if you looked at him yesterday when he was at the bar, the only time he was drinking, he was looking in a mirror. And he was admiring how he was watching. Anybody else want me to pick on him? No. Oh, okay. Well, that's really my report. And for those of you who said that, oh, another half hour, and I heard you. I'll talk to you later. So again, thank you very much. That's a good time to break for lunch.
Excellent. I second that.
Yeah, let's have 20 more minutes.
It's 12:30.
No, but I got
Well, but we can wash up.
Do another one.
Right, the next activity report, the
Jonathan,
I gotta go.
Jonas Savage.
Yes. Our master Jonas Savage.
Take a 10-minute moment of silence. Actually, I will be very brief. Now that Bookton's gone, you know, we can go on. So I'm the webmaster for the UAV. The website is www.uavets.org. Please visit it. The website gets about 400 visits per month. That varies, but on average, about 400 visits. It goes up during convention times, goes down during the summer. In addition, I've also proportioned some email addresses for all of the executive officers on the national board. So for continuity, so as officers change, they come in, they come out. We don't have to have people using their own personal email addresses, and they have access to all the old information. We also maintain a Zoom account. Right now, we're Zooming live. It's has the advantage of we can get our minutes out of that. It comes with the advantage of having AI. So hopefully we don't have to sit there and watch those videos and try to recreate the notes. We also have a YouTube site. So these videos that we're recording today will be posted on YouTube eventually. All the old ones are on YouTube. So if you ever want to watch something, get the minutes from the last years, they're out there. We have a Facebook page, also another social media. Roman McCook takes care of that. If you have something you want posted, just email Roman, send it to him. He can post it on Facebook for you. Tomorrow we have elections. I've agreed to serve one more time if I'm elected. However, this will be my last term. When I did this, I've been the webmaster for 12 years now. It's hard to believe. Igor Ron had actually, I think, was the commander at the time. Jerry Kinderchuk had contacted me, asked if I could be the webmaster, and I agreed. I didn't really think at the time it would be 12 years, so that I agreed to do it until my father died, and my father died this past November. So this will be I'll do it one more time. So we need to find another webmaster. It is a fairly technical position. Somebody has to actually know their way around the web. So, you know, I realize it's not an easy position to replace.
So we have 2 years, one more term.
Yeah, another 2 years. So plenty of time, but don't dally. 2 years goes by very fast. Yes, sir.
On the YouTube address, is it UAV or Ukrainian American Veterans?
If you just search for YouTube, Ukrainian American Veterans, if you search for UAV, you'll get videos of drones. So search for UAV Ukrainian.
Ukrainian American.
Yeah,
Veterans.
Ukrainian American Veterans YouTube, and you'll find it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Joe, somebody brought up here, I can't remember who, about sharing post activities on what each post is doing. I would think the Facebook page would be the way to do it.
Send it to Rome. I agree with that. I don't think the website, it's too hard to update, dynamically like that, but something like that's perfect for Facebook.
Could we do something like that with LinkedIn?
We could, if you wanted to, we could set up a thing. We also have there's also a page on Wikipedia, which actually you sent me something about saying it was out of date. So I actually, it took me about a month to get control of it, and then updated it. But yeah.
So I think it's important for continuity with all of those.
Let's talk offline about what we want to do with a LinkedIn account. I mean, because it's like any account, you'd have to maintain it. It's the same thing if we were to have a Twitter account or something like that. It's one thing to have one, but it's another thing to actually have it and keep it up to date. So yeah, my question to you would be, what's the purpose of having it? Does it serve a purpose beyond what we already have?
Well, who has the right now to edit our website?
It's just myself right now.
All right, do you need help with that?
If somebody wants to help, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, because I think we do have some people interested in helping, so if you approach Joe. I think if we could keep an ongoing update of activities and posts, that would greatly help our organizations. Right now, we don't always know what's happening until after it happens. So,
And sort of to build on what Michael just said, every post has its own page. And I think post 101, you have your own website to which we link to. But every other post, there's a page if you go to it. I think maybe one or two posts, post one stands out in my mind because it's like you're one of the oldest posts, yet you don't have any information on the website about where you meet and that sort of thing. And so if somebody is looking to join a post in, say, Chicago or Warren, Michigan, or wherever, New Jersey, they could go to the website and find out where the post meets and who the commander is and all that other information. So it's a useful thing, but if you don't share that information with me, I can't post it because I can't just make stuff up.
Joe, do we have a calendar on the, website? Is that too difficult to?
Again, it's something that we'd have to keep up.
Yeah.
I really think something dynamic like that is better to be put on Facebook. Because there's just so many events. Now, if we wanted to put something like that on there, that's fine. But it's just a question of who's gonna provide that information.
Well, not only that, you would need help.
It's actually not that difficult. to
Well,
do.
what I was thinking is the calendar was password protected and the passwords given to the post commanders, they could then type in what activities they have coming up in the future months.
Yes, if the post commanders would do that. I mean, I don't want to say they're not gonna do it.
Yeah, I
But
know.
they're not
I
gonna.
know, I get it.
I tried to have years ago, have the post commanders, give them edit access to their pages so they can update the pages
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
Only one post commander took advantage of that and wasn't able to figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but that.
I hate to be a say no guy.
No,
but
I understand.
What you've done for us, though, is very, very important, because there are a lot of times when we've had, especially now, when we get some hype. When I say Ukrainian American Veterans, and some heightened publicity because of the situation in Ukraine and because of other activities. What you've done has been very important, so we really thank you for all you've done in the last 12 years, Joe.
Very well. Any questions?
All right, I
Thank
think
you.
at this point, even if the lunch is gonna be in 15 minutes, is a good time to take a break. And we'll reconvene after lunch is over.
And where does the money?
It's supposed to be brought here, so.
You want to hear?